Hey, we're live. We're here.
What's up?
We are. What up?
Hello.
Working?
We're back. Yeah, I think it's working.
Okay. All right, cool. I can't hear it, but someone can hear it. It's actually better. Yeah.
What up, man? Ian Michna. Did I say that correctly?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't want to
No, it's all good.
butcher your name.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You know Jacob. You guys met
We just
briefly.
met 5 minutes ago. Perfect.
My co-host. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're the first. Because you kind of know everybody, but
I kind of know a handful of people that we've. Yeah, I know. I've known everybody
like
so
everybody,
far.
all the guests that we've had before, he's like,
Yeah.
"That's my boy."
Classic. Skateboarding.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
When you walk around the city without like someone who doesn't skateboard and you say hi to like random people that go by and they're like, who are these people? You know, they're so
Yeah.
confused. And you're like, it's kind of like this fraternity thing that
Yeah.
if you skate, you know people, and if you don't, you probably don't.
No, you're right. It's
Yeah.
true. Last year I was hanging out with a friend. I was dating this girl, and she's like, we walk around the city, and like these young kids come up to you and say hi. She's like, what is that? And I was like, skateboarding.
Yeah, they're a little confused. They're like, what do you do again? And then I have to re-explain it, and it still makes them more confused.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
No,
that's
but-
the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You should have scared her and told her you have a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're a secret school teacher or something. Oh, those are just my students. It's like, well, they're not in school. That's for damn sure. Yeah.
But Jacob's the homie. We go back. We were telling you he was SF days, so yeah, he's my co-host, and fucking we're just
What's up,
here to
world?
rock, man.
I'm just curious, why'd you bring in a co-host? I know before this you didn't have one and you just went solo.
I just felt like the live element of it, just kind of like having somebody to like bounce back and forth energies on, and like just kind of will bring a different kind of element to it. So yeah, pretty much that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here I am.
But how you been, man? How's everything going? Like
Good.
how's this whole crazy COVID madness been for you?
I mean, I'm always like the type of guy who it's like you throw the worst shit at me and I'll be like, well, at least I got, and find like the most minuscule thing to be excited about because that's just in my nature.
That's good. It's a good way to be, though.
So yeah, clearly, I mean, definitely the year was tough, but there was so much good to come out of it, and especially I'm seeing it more now. So right now, I think like Jenkum's in a good place, and mentally, I'm in a good place because basically Corona like cleared out everything, and it's like, okay, what am I here to do? What is the mission of Jenkum? And it clears out the noise. Like you're not distracted by Tuesday night party at the bar, or like this activation you're doing next week, or this deadline you have to do. You're kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs, like, all right, so what are we supposed to do again?
Yeah.
And that was refreshing, and it was clarifying.
So it kind of gave you the space to just kind of like focus on the important things and just kind of
Yeah.
like,
The other
no
cool
distractions.
Exactly. The other nice thing was business slowed down in the beginning of the year. Like, I mean, the beginning of Q2, so it's like March, April, May. And that was scary, but at the same time, it gave me time to figure out what I liked doing in the beginning. Like, I'm not always just doing content for like a client or, doing work just to make bottom line.
Yeah.
It was like me reconnecting with people I wanted to interview or things I wanted to do that I never got around to because you're always putting like money gigs before that at times.
Yeah.
So it was a way for me to reconnect with Jenkum, and this year's our 10th year, so it was especially well timed for me to be like, oh yeah, what are we doing here? Yeah.
That's cool, man. And besides all that, your family, friends, everybody's good, healthy.
Yeah. Thankful to say that everyone. I mean, some little things, not little, but things happen here and there, but for the most part, everything's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I don't want to do. I mean, I know you've probably told your story a lot of times, but we'll go through it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't for sure. I'm not like up here. Oh, just another day of the interviews. You got 12 more minutes. My manager's in the back, like, cut it off. No. I mean, I've told it, but not too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started skating. You lived in Austria, right?
Yeah. So I grew up in New York. When I was 10, we moved abroad. My dad's British. He got a job there, and I went to an English-speaking school there. And my brother used to skate. He's quite a little bit older, and he used to skateboard in the city. So I was like around it all the time, but then it wasn't until like 6th or 7th grade hit where you feel like, oh, this is a cool thing. It's not just, you're not like riding around on your, whatever, belly boarding.
So he was skating here in New York?
Yeah.
Was he like going to the banks and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was like, he went to like the Dead Industries thing and like all the kind of the early 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Because that was his generation. So I'd see him and his friends always skating around like Westchester and stuff like that. And they'd have their boards around. They'd skate in our front on the street. So I saw that as a little kid and I just thought, oh, it looked cool. And then when I moved to Austria, that was when I actually started skating and I bought my first board.
So how old were you when you moved to Austria?
I was 10.
Were you bummed or like, were you like, fuck?
I think at that point, like, what, you can't do anything. What, are you going to be bummed?
That's
and then
true.
You're 10, you know?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah.
I think,
well, I mean,
dude, just looking back, I just thought, oh, that's, what do you don't have a choice. So
yeah,
you
no
say,
choice.
oh, that sucks. Like, I miss my friends. And then you go with it.
I would think that you'd have to like restart almost, you know?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Especially at 10, you're like already kind of set with your friends. and
Yeah,
stuff,
I
so.
think it was good that it would suck a lot more to move in like 6th, 7th, or 8th grade because you're forming your identity.
Yeah.
And those early childhood experiences that are like very integral. But when you're 10, it's kind of right before it's like the scooter age. You know?
you're
you
right.
you can still scooter and you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But after that, it's harder. So I kind of got lucky.
So you get to Austria and then you started skating there? You met
Yeah, when I was like 13. That was 8th grade. Between 7th and 8th grade.
You like met up with some homies there and you were in Vienna?
So yeah, so I was there. No, we just saw the older kids skateboard, and we thought, oh, that looks like the coolest thing ever. And me and my friends were all kind of, it was like me and my friend James, my other friend John, and we bought boards around the same time.
Okay.
And they were very expensive. I remember that.
I
Because like
bet.
boards abroad are extremely expensive.
And you know, it's funny because in Europe too, different brands will be more, or like a girl board will be like 80 euros, and then like a different kind of board will be like 45 euros.
Yeah.
Like all the different brands will be like, because in the States it's like 55 all across the board.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, there was definitely, they were different different prices across the board. Shoes were expensive. Like buying a skateboard was a huge deal. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a big deal
Yeah.
getting it here.
It's imported.
And then
so
now
like,
it's definitely it was double the cost at least.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I think so I got a Jamie Thomas Smith grind board.
Okay.
I think it was green and it was 100-ish euros, maybe 120, which is like $140 at that
Yeah.
time. And then everything said and done, it was like $200.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, "You better fucking use this thing," you know. And that's all you're getting for a while. Like, I don't want to hear one chirp out of you, you know. And I think it was a good investment.
Was there like
couldn't
in
imagine.
Vienna? Was there like a main plaza that people skated?
Yeah,
Like
so
a Makwa Vienna or something?
there's a couple, but we used to go to the Donauinsel, which was just it's like under a bridge under the Donau, and that was kind of like a headquarters spot. And there's another plaza we'd go to, but at that time when you're just starting, it was more like just go to Grom skate park. And so I was just learning at the skate park the first like 2 or 3 years. And then when I felt comfortable traveling alone, which was like 9th and 10th grade, then we would go to all the skate spots and like learn about it and be intimidated.
Yeah. But it's interesting because the European skate scene, now it's all connected. But there was a time when the U.S. skate scene and the European skate scene were two totally different worlds. Like people here there were pros in Europe that people here hadn't even heard of.
Yeah.
And like, so were you like kind of dialed into like what was going on in the Euro scene, or were you just like skating like
No, I wasn't like, that was kind of refreshing in a way because I didn't start hyper aware of the industry. It was just local pros, and you'd see someone and be like, oh, I think he's hooked up by Skatebox or this like little company here and there.
Yeah.
And you would hear, we'd watch the American, like at that time, I think I was downloading stuff on Kazaa Lite or one of those P2P programs. And I remember downloading PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life. And so all that stuff just felt like so enormous, so far away. And Vienna is kind of a funny city because it's not like a major hub per se. So there weren't that many tours that came through there.
Okay.
So I only I really never saw like an international team come through. I just heard murmurs of like, oh, the 0 team was here 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, great. You know?
5 years
Yeah, yeah. Like it was so insane.
It is true. In all my years of skating, like Austria's never been like a place. People go to Germany, people go to France, people go to Spain, but like nobody really goes to Austria.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it gets kind of,
No disrespect.
or they go to Prague or something. Like
They go to Prague,
yeah,
exactly.
It
Prague
kind of
is
gets
big.
just a little bit forgotten.
Yeah.
And that's okay though too. It was cool because Vienna at that time, in my perspective, it wasn't as globalized as a lot of other places. So I remember coming from America and like a lot of basic things that you would take for granted, like, oh, we're the Oreos or something stupid.
Yeah.
They'd be like, Oreos, what the fuck are you talking about? And like everything was pretty quaint still. And so it had a certain like charm, a certain character.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty caught up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in those days, because you spent your whole teenage years there, right? Did you go to Barcelona to skate at all, or did you go to Paris, or did you like?
Well, I would go those places for other things. Like in my school, there was like I was on the running team or whatever, and so you go to other schools in different places for the running team. But normally you would just go kind of by yourself and. Sorry, you'd go with the team, but the rest of the team didn't skate. So then on the side, I would go and like explore.
Rowing team?
No, running.
Running team. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Track and field, whatever.
Yeah.
It's
No,
been a while.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. I used to run
Yeah.
track too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did like 400 meters or 800 or
Oh, nice.
both. And what was I going to say? Yeah, so we didn't have like a team trip anywhere. We stuck pretty close, but we would take trains around Austria and like see various different spots. But I wasn't as like, it's funny, you know, I think people who grow up in the suburbs in the States, when you find skating, it becomes everything. It's your way out. It's your entire gateway. It's your entire Mexican, you know?
We were saying that on the last thing with Quim. It's like once you discover skateboarding, everything kind of just fades away.
It's
Yeah.
everything is secondary
Yeah.
or tertiary, and you're like, I don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because America is so restrictive. You can't, like, you need a car to get somewhere. Let's say that, especially the ages 13 to 16, right? You need a car to get somewhere. You can't drink. There's not many public spaces, especially in their suburbs. There's public spaces behind your 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
True.
And so skating becomes paramount, becomes number one, because that's your escape. Whereas in Europe, in Vienna, you can drink when you're 16, and the laws were even way laxer than that.
Yeah.
You can get around public transport easily. And there's a lot more opportunity to gather in like a small city. So in that way, there was skating became a part of the whole fabric. It wasn't just everything. So we go bring our board, skate, but then we'd also like check out a gallery, go to the movies, do this, do that, and it became. I wasn't so militant about it, as in like people in the States. I feel like where they were just like skater
Like,
die,
I'm a
literally.
skater,
Yeah. And so it just became another
It gets
part.
pretty
of that.
crazy.
Yeah. And I was super into skating, but it didn't take over my whole identity yet at that time. It actually, when I came back to the States, I got more into skating. I think because of those factors.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So who was your crew then in Vienna? Like, who were you skating with?
Just like 3 of us. There weren't that many skaters at that time.
Yeah.
It was like me, this kid James Hersey, who does music now, John Hoogland, a Finnish guy, and then these 2 kids, Jared and Paul, and it was just 5 of us, and we had like this corny crew that I won't name. And we took photos and took.
You had a crew name? You gotta shout it out, man.
Yeah, I think I'm good on that. I don't. Oh yeah, they're gonna be bummed if they don't get shouted out. I don't even think they know this exists.
It wasn't the Jenkum boys.
No, that came later. That whole thing came later for sure. No, this was all like Grom skating, like figuring out like how to varial flip and not knowing that wasn't cool.
Whatever.
It is kind of cool now. Now we understand it's how you do it, you know.
Yeah.
Motion of the ocean sort of vibe. Yeah.
So you sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Right, yeah. Not super great anymore, but pretty well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you been back since?
Yeah, I've tried to visit here and there. I've probably been back. I mean, I haven't lived there since I was 18, so
It's been a
people
minute.
that know stuff can do the math and figure that out. But yeah, it's been like 12 years or whatever, or 14. Yeah, a couple of years. So I've been back here and there.
Yeah.
Not like too much.
Word. So you spent your teenage years there, and then when you're like 20 or 18 or 19, you moved?
Yeah, 17 I came back
17
here.
you came back?
Yeah, and I went to SUNY Purchase, which is in Westchester, New York.
How was that transition, like coming back?
It was definitely it was more challenging than I thought it would be.
I
But-
bet, because I mean you spent your formative years in another place where you're growing, you're figuring out who you are, you know, you have your world and your friends and maybe your little girlfriends or whatever you have back there, and then you leave it all behind, you know.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty like
Game changer.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think it was, you know, when you're 17, I think a lot of us, you feel on top of the world.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to live the dream and do this and that. And then
Yeah.
you get a reality check when you go there and you see other people as talented as you are and da-da-da-da-da. And for a culture, like culturally speaking, it was definitely odd because people were like, where are you from? And I felt like, oh, it's from New York because I was born here and that's my original identity. And when I was abroad, I was the New York guy,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh-huh.
So then I come to New York and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not the New York guy because I haven't lived here in 10 years. I didn't.
Now you're the Euro
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, and now I'm the Euro guy, but I look Asian and I'm not Euro, and they're like, it's so confusing. They're like, where are you from? I'm like, Westchester. They're like, why don't you know what a 40 is? I'm like, what's a 40? Like when I'm 17, I'm going around asking what a 40 is as a guy. You know how
That's
fucking stupid you
wild.
look? Like, yo, my homie's got a fake ID. We're gonna get 40s. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Yo, it took the first like couple weeks was like so awkward, and I'm so thankful that I still have the friends that I made those couple first weeks. I'm friends with them for life. Because if you liked me then I'm doing, you know, they saw through that. That was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even know growing up that you couldn't get 40s outside of
Yeah.
anywhere else.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That was wild to me to find out.
You can get 40s, and well, here's something that happened to me in Barcelona. You can get big beers like that are like 40 ounces.
They just call them big
But-
beers.
But they,
Big beer.
but,
We get big beers.
but they don't drink them. They share them. It's for sharing.
Oh.
You wouldn't just like. I remember one time, like in Barcelona, I was like, oh, I'll get beers for everybody, and I got everybody their own.
Oh
40,
man.
And they were like, what? This is like way too much. And I was like, no, this is everybody, and they're like,
We're
no.
gonna get it
It's
popped
American
in.
size.
Yeah. So they get beer, and then they like they'll like share the beer with everybody. Yeah.
That's
so
wild.
Yeah, no, everything's definitely bigger here. Like that is true.
Yeah.
And yeah, the 41 is I remember very well. And there was all other sorts of like slang and things that I didn't understand, and yeah, it took a
You're the
bit.
Euro guy.
It would have been different if I was like a French guy coming over, you know, cool, whatever. But because I speak like I speak, I didn't have an accent, and I split my life in two places. That's where it got muddled. Because a lot of people had never even been outside of state.
Yeah.
Because it was a state school, a lot of people were, or just like, oh, I've been to Jersey before. I'm like, oh, well, it's not close at all. So we don't have anything in common. Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny, man. So you got back, and then what was your life? You were going to school. You started
Yeah.
skating. Have more like.
No, I just felt more strongly as a skateboarder as soon as I came back, because the people in my school I was kind of ambivalent towards, and then when I met like the 3 or 4 skaters, it's like, oh, it's on. Like I'm just gonna be going all gung ho on that,
Yeah.
and then they had this little thing called the student center, and they actually had skate obstacles in it. So when it was winter, we could skate inside.
Oh, okay.
And that helped me a lot, because at that point, like, you can't drink. College is funny because especially freshman year and early years, there's a lot of school events, but most of them are kind of corny. So it was kind of an out to go and just be doing my own thing with a couple of friends skating.
That's cool.
And then we'd just drive around and go to so-and-so's hometown, and he'd show us his little 2-stair next to some shitty bank.
Yeah.
And we'd go skate it, and you learn a lot about people.
Yeah,
It's
for
cool.
sure.
I would think you appreciate your spots when you find them.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming back to this one.
Yeah, no. But it's cool. I mean, I recently went around Poughkeepsie with my friend Rich, and he showed me all the childhood spots he grew up on, and you know, he's super hyped because he has all that. Like, those spots are really special to him, and to me, they're just garbage.
Yeah.
So I see them, and he's just like, dude, we used to do this and that. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, are you going to do it now? Like, I'm not going to do it. You know, like, you're busting your ass to just get off the end of, like, this like, tiny thing. It's like, this is not worth it for anyone. Doesn't look cool. Doesn't feel cool. You know?
Word.
Yeah.
So when did Jenkum start coming together in your mind? Like, was it something that you had been thinking about for a long time, or something you wanted to do? I know most of the time our projects, when we from the idea to when it forms, it's something completely different. You know, it like it's like we have an idea of something, and then the final outcome is like something, you know, like I said, completely different. So like, did you start thinking about Jenkum, and then is it what you wanted, or did it transform into like something else?
I just knew in the beginning I wanted to be around and in skating as much as humanly possible, right? And Jenkum, it was actually, you know, like, I think when people tell stories like this, like the origin stories, it's most of the time it's not linear, and there's a lot of things you try on the side that are kind of a part of that, but people don't count it, right?
Yeah.
So Jenkum, when I started, I already had a couple years dabbling in skating and trying all these other things, throwing stuff against the wall. So before that, I wrote for this little like magazine / blog / called Interstate Mag, which was a guy out of Baltimore.
Okay.
And so I had been writing for him for about 2 years, so that gave me a little bit of like experience. And he took me the first time to Tampa, and then I met Narako, and Narako actually gave me a gig. He introduced me to Lance Dawes, who was running ESPN then, and Lance was doing ESPN skateboarding, which was hilarious, and because Lance Dawes is the founder of Slab.
I love Lance Dawes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we grew up with him in SF.
Yeah.
He's the homie.
And so I wrote a little bit for there, and then I thought, I have these jobs, but I'm not fully fulfilled by them, and I have a voice that I want to project that I can't do it through ESPN or this other thing.
Definitely not on ESPN.
Yeah. But that was crazy. That was crazy to see. Like all of a sudden, I hit Lance up. Narako's like, hit Lance up. Maybe he'll give you a pitch or whatever. And then I'm on this list with all these people that I've looked up to. Like, holy shit, like they're just one click away, you know?
Yeah.
And this is before social, like this is before Instagram, and Twitter was like, you could hit some people, but it was kind of rare for a lot of skaters to be on Twitter. So I think the hardest part in the beginning was access, like just getting in touch with skaters was really hard.
So how did you meet Narako then? Like you
So I was writing for this Interstate Mag thing. He took me to Tampa. When I was in Tampa, I met a bunch of people, you know, as you do, through the bar, of course. And then I interviewed Narako for that magazine.
That's right, yeah.
Then he liked some of my work or whatever. He saw something in me, and he said, "Hey, we're looking for younger writers. You know, talk to Lance. He works for ESPN." And maybe you'll get like a gig doing that. And I only wrote like 2 or 3 things for ESPN, but it was cool. I mean, I got paid, which was remarkable. You know, getting paid to do anything in skating is kind of a blessing.
I mean, totally.
You don't have to say the exact numbers, but was it
just a couple grand? No big deal.
You know?
I bought my first house on that. ESPN, dude, you never know.
That ESPN money.
Yo, for sure. It's like that classic, like when anyone says they're working with Nike, they're like, "You'll get that Nike money." You know, like, what do you expect me to take the invoice and double it? Like,
what's that?
You know, you can.
Money?
Yeah, it's silly, but no, it's pretty low. I mean, for editorial, it's pretty high.
Oh, okay.
You guys want a number, don't you?
Oh,
I think it was. No, don't lie to me. I know your style. It's just like, it's always at high or low. Like it's 6 inches for sure. No, dumb joke. I think it was $250 or to $500, which was really good.
Okay.
That's chill.
Yeah, it was somewhere in that range. It might have been 3, might have been 4, but it was definitely in there. And for anyone that knows the rates on editorial these days, that's pretty good. You know. So
did you do a lot of things for ESPN or like?
No, just a couple. I did like 3 or 4 pieces. I did it more kind of for the resume and the credibility than anything else.
So when did you decide you're like, you know what, I'm gonna just do my own thing?
So in college, this was all kind of during college, and I was always doing my own shit on the side because I knew like when I came out of college, I didn't want to just get a job, like you know, an office desk job, and just give the dream away. So I had started working and programming Jenkum junior year of college, and I got WordPress. I taught myself that. And I wanted a place to put my other work that didn't fit these other outlets. And I had a viewpoint on it. Like I wanted to scratch the itch, and I felt like, you know, even if 3 people see it, it's better than nothing, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
So I kind of had the idea junior year, and the name is based off this house we had. It was a skate house in upstate in Poughkeepsie, New Paltz. called the Jenkum house. Why I got the Jenkum name is because Jenkum is like a fake drug.
Yeah.
You know this story?
I've heard it, but yeah, you can tell it.
So back when like this is like pre-meme almost. So someone on 4chan, which is like a really nerdy internet forum, made up this drug and said if you shit in a bottle and piss in a bottle and huff it, put it in the sun and then huff it, you'll get high. And they explain the high and it like sounds amazing, right? You can talk to your dead parents, all this crazy shit.
Whoa.
So
did anybody try it?
Well, we'll get to that.
Has anybody OD'd off of it?
People definitely have. You could just, yeah. We'll get to that. So then we just thought, oh, it's a funny name, and the best part about it was like Fox News and these major news corporations started reporting on it like it was taking hold of America, which it wasn't. It was a fake drug made on the internet.
That's great promotion.
So it was the original fake news.
Yeah.
You know. And so I thought, how funny is it that these major news corps who we put so much trust in don't do their due diligence and they don't really know what they're talking about. And how funny is it that the small guy kind of came up on the big guys, you know? And then obviously the poop pee joke is great. Yeah. So we named our house the Jenkum house. It was shitty. And it was just a party trash house. Yeah. It was basically a shack. Like a house would be giving it too much credit.
Yeah. How many people live there?
5 of us.
Okay.
And
I bet the shower was beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's 1 bathroom, 5 guys. It was on the level of if you run out of toilet paper, you just find.
You're wiping your butt with like
with
coffee
mags.
filters and
skate mags straight up.
Do you put toilet paper on the bowl before you sit down?
I think we were way past that, or we weren't there yet. Yeah. It was pretty bootleg, but that's the way it should be. You know, that's it felt right at the time.
Yeah.
Respect.
And so from that house, I named it just Jenkum. Felt like that was our whole identity back then. That was like what I was into, and I liked the kind of the spastic like idiocy of it. Yeah.
So
sorry if I'm trailing. Sometimes I'm like, what's the question again?
No. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, was it around the same times like CKY was out, or what is that?
CKY.
CKY, all that bum fights and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I was definitely heavily
that
influenced by all that stuff.
A lot of stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, that was the skating I liked. You know?
I was on the same hype.
You like the hijinks.
I like the hijinks as much as the skating. I like the culture as much as the skating.
Yeah.
Like when people nerd out on tricks and shit, I kind of get bored.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's actually funny now because you find the people that, like I was talking with. Man, this sounds like a whatever. I don't want to sound like I'm name dropping, but like I was texting with Andrew Reynolds, and he was going in on like tricks, and I feel like his mind is really fascinated and really into just the act of like the tricks themselves. And then I was talking with someone else, and we're just riffing on like the little cultural like dumb moments.
Yeah.
And I think that's as important, if not more important. That's what drew me to it. Like the delinquency of it was. What I was hyped on, you know.
So how did you like? You're living in this crazy house, but you're also creating something at the same time. Like, how were you able to like be responsible and like start this thing when you lived in such a like college kind of like the typical college environment?
I mean, I didn't want to get like the same way I don't go too heavy. Like I try to push it, but. Ultimately, I knew where my North Star was, which was I want to try this thing, and no amount of beer is going to distract me from getting there. You know, how else do you say it? You know,
were you the one roommate that had a clean room? Because I know the type.
That's a great question.
Yeah. You thought I was the militant guy, just like don't go in there, bro.
Yeah.
No.
Like everything's
no,
nice.
I'm very average. I'm a C student across the board. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like. But I had the feeling on it, and I just. You know, I have older siblings, and I saw their friends. You know, you see people just kind of give up on things that you thought they would do or could do or wanted to do.
I know what you
and
mean.
I just thought I still think it's just so sad.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not a path for everyone. Yeah. But at least give it your best shot. You know.
They might have even had skill, and you might have seen them but they just gave up, you know.
Or
Sometimes
that's my brother, like, oh, Adrian, what happened to so and so? And they're like, oh, they work for Apple now, and not that working for Apple's not cool, whatever, blah blah blah. But I just felt like, oh, they were in the band together, and they had so much promise.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame. It kind of gets me bummed. And maybe they do it part-time, I don't know, whatever. But I didn't actually launch it till after I graduated. So the whole time in school, I was just writing articles and like programming and figuring out how to make this website and put stuff up on it.
Okay.
And I launched it the month after I graduated.
Okay, nice. Was that like something, it just happened like that organically, or did you kind of have that plan?
I had a plan because I knew if I launched something, I don't want to just launch something, put one thing out on it, and then lose steam. So I wrote and I gathered like 30 or 40 articles before it even launched.
Oh, damn.
So I was writing like 1 or 2 things a week, just in my spare time. I mean, none of it was good. But by the time it launched, I knew, hey, I have this like vault. It's like writing music before your album comes out, you know?
Yeah.
I have this vault full of articles, and at the very least, you know, I'll have some steam for a little bit.
Did you use all the everything that you wrote?
No. I would say less than 10%.
Okay.
I think I put out 3 or 4. And then... yeah, I ran out of steam, like week 3 or 4 or whatever it was. And I asked my brother, I'm like, well, what do I do now? And he's like, well, fucking keep putting stuff out. And it's been 10 years of that. That's the truth, man.
Every week, it's been 10 years. Every week, you're like,
every
fuck, what do I do now?
Every week we've put out something, even if it's one thing, but I can say we've done it for 10 years.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
Which I feel good about because it's hard to do anything once a week for 10 years, even if it's, I don't know.
I mean,
Do you feel like the motivation for drive for like coming up with new ideas, does it sometimes like there's ups and downs with it where you're like drained, you're like, okay, I already made a bunch of cool stuff. Like now I'm just want to like chill. But everyone's like, yo, what's up?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the worst question is you just put out something you're really proud of, right?
Yeah.
And you see someone and they're like, yo, that's pretty good. And you're like, thanks. And they're like, so what do you got coming up? And you're like, oh, because it's kind of like you just put out your good video part, and then someone goes like, well, what are you working on now? And you're just kind of like. You're kind of like, yo, my mojo's it's
Can
dead.
I live a little bit? Like,
like, I'm not just a fucking machine. Like, I have to care about what I'm doing, and I want to care about what I'm doing. But in a way, it's cool because you don't make your work too precious.
Yeah.
You put it out, you agonize over it, or you celebrate it, and then after 24 hours or 48 hours, you kind of move on.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, I got to look at the next thing.
Yeah, I feel like you need like a balance of like precious and like just shoot it out, like whatever, you know, because you have to keep coming up with stuff. You know?
So were your parents supportive of your like of what you were doing?
Oh, I kept it secret for a while. So
they probably would be like, wait, what are you starting?
Yeah. No. I kept it secret for like pretty much 3 years, the first 3 years.
What?
Yeah.
What did they think you were doing with your
life?
life?
I was working a job too. So I was working at a bar. So they just thought I was on my computer dicking around, I guess, which they got mad about. So yeah, I was living at home for the first 2 years of Jenkem because it was obviously generating no money, and I was saving. I was working at this wine bar in Westchester, and I was saving money so I could move out. Okay. And I wanted to save a double amount of money because you have to move out, which costs some money, and then I knew Jenkum costs money.
For sure.
So they were definitely dubious and not that. I think at some point there was.
But they didn't know about your plan, yeah.
No, but it sounded ludicrous.
So they're like, they're like, our son is just working at this wine bar and like doing.
And then being on the computer
nothing with his
all
life,
the damn time. Otherwise, like I would just come home and just be. But they also knew that I had writing gigs, so they knew about the ESPN and stuff, the legit stuff before that. So they also thought I was freelancing and doing whatnot.
Oh, okay. They probably left you alone from that.
They did a little bit, but they were still kind of. They were definitely. Yeah, they were like, sketched out. What's After 2 years, they were. Thankfully, I moved then, and I got my first paycheck at the end of like after a year and a half or 2.
Oh, okay.
And I remember getting that check, and I was like, for $300, and they're like, what's this?
Like,
this is for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll take that. Yeah, that was Brick Harbor through Chase Whitaker.
Okay.
Yeah, he had a little e-commerce thing through Karma Loop.
Oh, cool.
And they advertised for in 2013 or 14. We started in 2011.
Oh, nice.
And that kind of gave me hope.
That was your first, I guess, advertiser?
Yeah, that was back then.
That's good.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, getting paid for anything felt legit.
For sure.
It's fairly fast, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
during those times it didn't feel fast, but in the scheme of things, getting paid within 2 years of something you create is fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you before just about the name. Have you ever like gone on a date or be out with a girl and they're like, so, like, what you do, Jenkum? Like, that's a magazine. Cool. What does it mean?
Yeah.
And then you have to explain to them like
That whole story. It's like that's why I'm like,
And then
oh,
they're
here
like-
we go again.
They're like, oh, okay.
You'd be surprised how few people know the origin story, and I would say out of 100 people, if I told them, hey, I do Jenkum stuff,
Nobody asked what it
5 know,
means.
maybe less.
Uh-huh.
One guy knew at this party I was at this weekend, and I'm like, yeah, Jenkum. He's like, Jenkum? I'm like, Jenkum. He's like, Jenkum? And I'm like, all right, you know.
Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, sick, man. Like, I thought everyone knew that. I'm like, nope, you're one of 5. Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, with people like that, you'd be surprised how few people ask. People generally aren't that curious.
Yeah.
And that's good, because I don't really have to tell that story 100
Yeah,
times.
that works in your favor.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You'd be surprised too. Like, I think in general people aren't that curious. Like, you tell them anything, and
They're
like for instance, you know, the Austria story, right? I don't even really mention that, and if I do mention it, it'll be very sparse, and then I can tell by their reaction if they care, and most of them don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like I think everyone's just so worried about themselves.
That's true.
You know.
There's a lot of egotistical people that don't listen.
I mean,
very
that's I'm thinking about myself right now, you know. So I'm not faulting anyone. We're all in our own bubble. You're thinking about your hair, you know. It makes sense. You know?
Actually, I'm not thinking
All
about it.
right. No, I'm kidding. No, we're all figuring it
We're
out.
all in our own
Yeah.
world.
And I feel like that's just been it's helpful too,
Yeah.
because you don't overthink anything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So the Jeremy Rogers, I know you've talked about this a lot, but you did a Jeremy Rogers article or interview, and that kind of like sparked things off for you. That's I mean, that's pretty. How did that whole thing go down?
So that was another like kind of Jenkum thing. It was like, why is no one talking about this? One of the world's biggest skaters at that time quit skating to rap,
Yeah.
and the rap wasn't especially good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of clowned on him and joked on him for
Yeah.
it, which makes sense. But I was like, whoa, he should be interviewed for sure.
Exactly.
Like, why aren't we hearing what's going through this guy's head?
Yeah.
You know? And he, to walk away from the paychecks he walked away from is remarkable. Whether that's a good choice or bad choice, it's a remarkable choice, right? So he was luckily one of the few. I'd say there's probably like 20 skaters at that time on Twitter. And he was on Twitter because he was rapping, he was rhyming on Twitter. So we hit him up, and at that time, Jenkum was on Twitter too, and I think we had a grand total of 18 followers.
Oh, damn.
And we hit him up, and he had a couple thousand. And we said, hey, would you be down for an interview? And after a couple days, he just tweeted back, yeah, hit me up, and then DM me, some Hotmail address.
That's what I was curious about, why he was down to do, because you guys were so new to the whole thing, but maybe you guys were the only platform that was
100%.
That was giving him the chance to tell
100%.
to tell this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't that. It was just that Thrasher and Transworld didn't ask him,
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how that happened over and over and over again for those early years. It wasn't that we were the best; it was that we asked, and that the other people who are also too busy running their own businesses and doing content that paid, and this was just organic, this was just for the skater, know. Because I mean, if you're, or like let's say Vice, right? If you're Vice, are you gonna pay for someone to interview Jeremy Rogers and lose money on that, or are you gonna pay for Epic Later and try to have it go elsewhere and syndicate it and make money and put on TV and whatnot?
Yeah.
You're gonna go after the gig that skaters like and then has a money option too. The Jeremy Rogers one, that's strictly zine style. Like that's not moving mountains for the bottom line.
It's like documentation.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna document what's
Yeah.
happening right now.
It's and so I don't think people asked him, and he was also, I think, known for kind of being a rogue, like being a little bit renegade of thought, and I think he liked that.
Yeah.
And I owe him a lot because he said yes, and I give him a lot of credit. Because if someone hit me up now with 18 followers asking for an interview on a site that barely exists, I would probably say
like,
no.
I don't know.
And no one likes to be the first, too,
Totally. No, that's true.
So he said yes. We did the interview. it went really well. I asked them the questions that I felt like other people my age in my position wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And I sent.
It kind of went viral, right? Like.
Yeah, in the beginning for those days, it went viral.
Yeah.
And that kind of put the mark on like this is possible. You know, that made me hopeful.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's like you nailed it when you said other platforms weren't giving him the opportunity, and it's a story that should be told. Everything doesn't have to be strictly about good skateboarding. There's, like you said, there's so many other interesting things in skateboarding besides the actual skating, you know. And it's great that you had the vision to like kind of like see that and give these people these opportunities to tell those stories, you know.
Yeah, I think I mean that was one of the reasons for Jenkum. It was just that people weren't telling the stories that I wanted to read.
Yeah, and
you know, and if they're not doing it, I'm gonna try to do it. You know, and I think that is because I was the demographic, I was the customer. You know, and I think that's still a good strategy.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you missing, and what do you wish there was, and go try to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as everybody heard, like, oh, he's a rapper, he quit skating, they're going to be like, what the fuck? Then they're going to hit the net, look for it. If there's nothing to look for, you're like, okay, whatever. But you were like, boom, interview, throw that on.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, boom, I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, because
so there you go.
Yeah.
Because
You know,
it's one of the most
brilliant idea.
puzzling moves in skateboarding.
Yeah,
People are
maybe
like,
puzzling moves of all time.
you're
Yeah.
Like what? You just quit all your. Yeah. But I was thinking about when I was writing these questions for you. I was like, Jeremy. He was kind of ahead of his time with what he was trying to do. Although he didn't execute it properly, he's kind of like he was like a mumble rapper before mumble rap became a thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he was almost.
Maybe if he did it now, he'd actually have more success. And I mean that genuinely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of like a 6ix9ine where he's just like trolling. He was trying to troll his way to success.
Or like who's the guy tiptoeing my Jordans? Who's that?
Oh, Riff Raff.
Like he
exactly.
kind of hits the comedy rap shtick.
Exactly.
Like, field. Yeah.
He just needed to hone his craft a little bit more. But have you guys ever ran into each other in real life?
Yeah. We've many times since then.
Okay.
And I recently was in LA and we hung out too. And I filmed him rap. It's just, you know, it's an ongoing relationship.
Yeah.
But, and he also our first year we did an anniversary party and he came to that and he was stoked on the interview.
Yeah.
Like at that time he ran this company called Selfish.
Yeah. I remember
And Dan, who was his business partner, was like, "Hey, let's put it on the site and promote it." So they were pushing it too. Like they wanted that look to be out there, as far as I could understand.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him at Tompkins just randomly. I'm like, is that what? And he's just by himself, just hanging out skating, like not talking to anybody. I'm just like,
He even had the face tats and the neck tats before everybody too.
Yeah.
Shout out JR Casanova. This guy's ahead of
Way
his time.
ahead of his
Fucking
time.
Trendsetter, avant-garde.
Avant-garde. All right. Tone it back. Avant-garde is a strong word. It's like Philip Glass over here. Sheesh. Nah, he's good.
I've heard you talk about something before that like I think is super important. Is like kind of the blessing in disguise of like not being a good skater. It's like
No, it is.
Yeah,
Fully, yeah.
And I've 100% stand by that because although as much as I love the act of skateboarding, like trying to pursue a career in skateboarding is not for everybody.
yeah.
And some people, myself included, I think you got to know when to like bow out and be like, okay, this isn't working for me, and like I need to try something else. Because like you can like sometimes the next sponsor is not always the answer. It's like, dude, no, figure out something else that you're gonna do in your life. Keep skating, but like, and I think that's super important for people to like to think about, you know.
Yeah.
Because then you're next thing you know, you're 35 and you're like, never had a job before.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the soccer pop kids that like their dad's like, you gotta do this, and then they go to the skate park and they get really, really good, but they might be like, oh, I like basketball, but their dad's just like, no, and they like go all the events and they become super popular or whatever. They do the right way, you know, but that's just another way that goes sometimes that I feel sorry for those guys.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't really have a choice almost, you know.
But
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, if you're doing something 24 hours a day all the time, you're also missing out on something too. And
Yeah.
skating is the absolute best, but then at the same time, you'll miss opportunities to hone in on skills you'll need later in life.
exactly.
So it's really tricky, and I'm thankful that I would never try to take that route because early on, like even in 10th grade, I was like, oh yeah, I'll skate forever, but I'm not going to try to do it as a profession.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Hell
Because I'm like, people were progressing way past me, and I was scared already, like, hey, we're going to go skate the 6 set and do like these whatever, do a session down it, and I was just ollieing it and like back 180ing it, and that was enough for me. Like I got my rocks off, So I think it's good for a lot of people now, especially, to realize that there's other lanes within skating you can take.
Yeah.
And they're not always out there already. Like you have to kind of find where and what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like at the time when I was doing this magazine or whatever I called it or thought of it back then, that wasn't a path. Like there was no dude that wasn't a pro from New York that was Asian doing a magazine.
Yeah.
It was all like, that was kind of ridiculous. It was like, Thrasher, Transworlds, these guys are in the juggernaut behemoth over in California. Like, why would you think you could do anything that would relate to anyone outside of that?
Yeah.
And that's why it worked, because I wasn't there.
Yeah. No, totally. And it's, you had the balls and to do it, and that's amazing.
I think the other thing is it wasn't even balls. I was just dumb enough. When you're just dumb enough, that's the point where you should try everything. It's like skating,
Like, yeah, you got to be kind of dumb to like jump down like a 20-stair handrail.
Well, it depends. Now there's all sorts of people. Whereas like I'll see people that are so calculated with it, and then I kind of think about like the mid 2000s, early 2000s people who kind of just did it, and it's. You see Jamie Foy, and it's like super calculated. He knows exactly what he's doing.
He's dialed in. For
Yeah,
sure.
he's dialed. And then, but there were generations and people before him that just, hey, I'll just do it. Just vacantly run for it.
Yeah.
And that only works so long, I guess, until you get hurt eventually.
Totally. I mean, and even like, not to talk about myself, but going back to like what we were just saying is like, even sometimes I think like getting sponsored, like for me riding for Menace and those, sometimes I wish that didn't happen.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because you're like, it makes you believe that what you're doing is the right thing to do.
But it was.
It kind of was, but I guess like maybe you just got to know when to like be like, okay, you got to know when to walk away, because skating becomes so much of your identity.
Yeah.
You're like, this is who I am, and you can't see yourself as anything else. I mean, it's me. I'm speaking personally, but like, so it's like I couldn't like see myself as anything besides like Lee Smith, pro skater, and but I think I had a lot of other talents that I could have like tapped into if I hadn't been trying fucking crooked grinds all day long on a stupid ledge.
Yeah. But just to play devil's advocate, like I agree with that, but the merit and the way you're built into skateboarding now is in the fabric of the story that's forever, and that's what people in other industries and other places will never get.
Yeah.
Like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
For sure.
Where people think of Menace, they think of you. You're part of the bigger family, the bigger picture, the bigger structure. I mean, that's what like everyone wants. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to get it. Like you can have $1 million and you're not going to be part of anything. You can just buy your second yacht and that's it. And of course, I want yachts too. I'm not saying money's not important, but I'm saying that's undervalued. It's cultural capital.
Sure, for sure.
Respect.
Yeah. And it's back in the days, like all the filmers and photographers, they all wanted to be pro skaters, right? But they weren't good enough, so that they stayed in the industry to like film, and it was a way to. But then the funny thing about that is that you fast forward 20 years later, and they have the amazing careers, and the skaters are like now working in bars and like stuff like that.
Well, free drinks all night, man. That's great though.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's weird how it flips, because it's like everybody wanted to be a pro skater, but then that's not the sustainable lifestyle, that the long-lasting lifestyle.
Yeah. It's also funny though, I think a lot of people in their 30s or 40s or whatever, they all feel slightly trapped by skating. Like even the photographers or whoever I talk to, they're all they go like, yeah, I shoot skating for fun, and I also shoot cards on the side, or I shoot whatever. They have more bandwidth or not bandwidth. They have more runway, but they had to get there as well. They had to get over the hurdle because otherwise it doesn't really always, especially back then, it doesn't translate to the larger world. Now it does. You can go shoot someone and Instagram might pick it up for an ad or something. But back then you're shooting something for Thrasher, this like niche publication.
Yeah.
I mean, who's gonna say, "Oh, I need that guy"? You know?
Yeah. That's true. So for all your articles, do you come up with all the ideas, or does anybody help you?
No,
with that?
I have freelancers first of all, and then I also have people that help me. I work with like right now 3 people: Alexis, Larry, Thomas. Thomas is on the West Coast, and a lot of people kind of are in this sphere. And every Monday we do a pitch meeting.
Okay.
And so people bring their ideas, stuff from the weekend, and we talk through kind of what's in the air of just life.
Nice.
And see how we can relate it to skating, and then if there's any skate stuff.
Yeah.
And those get ping-ponged a bit, and I'd say majority rules for the most part, unless someone's like hell-bent on something.
Yeah.
And then that can be interesting.
The
Then it's
back
just
and
like, all right,
forth.
so are we doing this? And they're always looking at me like, is he going to kill this article idea?
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe. because, yo, at the end of the day, I'm the one who, I'll go around and people are like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Because I'm more public-facing, too.
Yeah.
So I'll take the victories.
You
but
take the heat for
I'll take
other
the heat.
people's articles.
Yeah. Sometimes. Well, they'll just say like sometimes we'll have like a freelance writer write something. This is all learning too. So in the beginning, I'd think, people will think of them, but no, they think of Jenkum and they think of me, and they go, "Why'd you do that?" And I go, "I didn't do it." Like that was, but ultimately,
Well, you okayed it.
yeah, it is my responsibility. I'm the publisher,
Yeah.
and I put it out, and it might not be my voice or my opinion, but I
Yeah.
stood by it, and I thought it was valuable to some degree or entertaining.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted the next question I had for you is like, do you like everybody's so offended very easily these days? Have you guys dealt with a lot of like pushback from people, or like people being offended by anything, or?
It used to be easier, I'll tell you that. These days, I'm like second guessing every single word we put out on anything, and running it by like 4 people, just being a total neurotic case.
Yeah, dude.
Just like, could this be misconstrued in the wrong term?
Yeah.
But that's everyone, I'm sure.
I feel that way too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even anyone not in the
Just in your everyday
life,
walking
everyday life, you're
around,
tiptoeing.
Like,
you're,
wait.
Yeah.
I might have hurt that guy's feelings.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know. I was just trying to be happy.
Yeah.
Talking shit,
Everybody's walking around on eggshells nowadays.
Yeah, you're taking temperatures. Like, are they masked, anti-mask? Who am I? What do they like? Yeah. What was I gonna say? So being offended, yeah. I mean, people are always gonna be offended.
Yeah.
Fucking, what are you gonna do? You know, people are always gonna be offended. Some people are always gonna say you should have pushed it more.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, you can't make everyone happy, and if you do, then it's probably it's not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everything that's like watered down, that's good for everyone, is usually whack.
It's whack and it's not.
Because-
It's not authentic.
Yeah, no, I mean that's pop music, right? Pop
Yeah.
music is by definition popular, right?
Yeah.
For the most amount of people.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to be.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
because then your product has to be for the most amount of people, and that's unchallenging and watered down, boring, vanilla. So kind of having a ping pong against you and for you, that's good. You want to have an opinion. You want to have a voice.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know you were a big fan of Big Brother back in the day.
for sure.
Kind of inspired you.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a big inspiration for you.
I mean, a mix of like how Jackass came about.
Yeah.
It's Big Brother and CKY, and those are. I mean, Big Brother definitely was stronger because it was a magazine, but those guys are all my heroes. Like everyone from the art direction to Rocco to Clive Aaron McKee, every little Earl Parker, like every little thing I
Yeah.
would dissect. And actually, recently I kind of stepped back because I don't want to rip or have that in the back of my head or feel like I'm like taking too much from it. So I try to look for sources of inspiration outside of skating.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. What are there any Big Brother articles that like you stick out to you, or that you're like?
Off the top, Earl Parker, I think in one of the early issues, did How to Catch a Seagull. And I mean, it's just why, And I couldn't put stuff like that down. Like How to Catch a Seagull. And it has him just running around trying to catch a seagull and writing about it like it was a very serious endeavor.
Yeah.
And I just love like the high and the low of that.
Yeah.
Like that's all I want to read about.
Yeah.
And then before Big Brother, there was a magazine. I think Jeff Tremaine was the He did Dirt. Have you heard of Dirt? It had like 5
know.
issues. It was Jeff Tremaine and Spike Jonze, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And on the cover, I think it's Jason Lee or someone getting punched, and it's just like the headline article on it is how to get beat up, or like easy ways to get beat up. And I just love that sort of like just fuckery. It's just hilarious.
Dirt magazine. I don't remember that. I'm gonna have to look it up.
I think it was only lived maybe 5 or 6 issues. You know, those guys, I think, before Big Brother, they tried a couple different things. And I don't, you know, and then there were zines and everything between that. So I'm going back and learning about them and like looking at them now because that's the stuff that I get hyped on.
Yeah.
Because everyone can read every Big Brother, but I want to find like the earlier stuff.
Of course. You know what I realize about like interviews and stuff, or like through doing this, but even before, like the best interviews are always from like the people that have like the people that you would least expect, like the people that have like nothing to lose. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get a better interview out of like one of Jay-Z's little buddies than out of Jay-Z.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. So like that always kind of like I always took notice of that and to think like it's not necessarily the big name people that you need to interview. You kind of you're gonna get a better story out of somebody that was there with those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that I always kind of like took notice of.
Yeah, I feel strongly about that as well. Actually, in the beginning, we would try, I was very deliberate about picking the people who had nothing to lose because you'd get a real interview.
Yeah.
So, or the people that were already outside of skating. Like, we did a Danny Gonzalez interview in 2012. Danny had left skating already.
Yeah.
And he could speak pretty freely.
Okay.
And so, I think that gave the tone of early Jenkum was like, let's interview these people who are kind of on the periphery now and can speak as they want. And then later, as it grew, we had access to more people like a P-Rod or so and so and so. But those interviews were less engaging because they're too current and they have too much to lose.
Yeah.
And I think around the 2016, 17, 18 era, we got a little lost in going after the big names just because we could. When it didn't mean the interview was going to be better. It was just kind of me trying to flex, like, hey, we weren't a niche zine anymore.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of taking it full back. It's like just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah,
the classic.
I really liked the Alex Olson interview that you guys just did.
Oh, cool.
I felt like, and I mean, I felt like he was pretty honest in that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. I mean, I don't know how much more honest you could get.
And I don't know if you saw it, but like,
I gotta check it out.
I guess Alex Olson nobody writes for 917 anymore.
Yeah, well,
And
he
like,
does. Yeah.
Well, his whole team quit, and it's
Right.
kind of like a blow to like, it's an ego blow,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was very candid and like really honest about, his own mistakes that he made and how he feels about it and everything. I thought it was super cool. How did that come about? Did you guys hit him up and were like, just tell us about what's going on?
So Alex, I mean, to his credit, that was pretty much all him. You know, like you can't. He just spoke very bluntly and plainly, almost like how skateboarding used to be.
Yeah.
And I was thankful for it because it just makes everything more interesting and fun.
Yeah.
And it's truthful. And he's like very connected to himself, so he's admitting his own faults, which is great. It's not like a delusional one-sided interview.
Yeah.
Where like everyone fucked up and I'm the best dude. You know?
Exactly.
Basically, it was similar to the Jeremy Rogers thing. It was months on end of going to the skate park and everyone go like, at some point, 917 would come up and be like, "What's with them? I heard so-and-so quit."
Yeah.
And everyone's just talking about rumor.
Yeah.
I just thought, well, at some point, someone's got to ask this guy what's going on. Like,
exactly.
I was expecting it to pop up somewhere, or I thought he would at least go on Instagram and say, "Hey, this is the story of what's happening."
Yeah.
No one did. So I was in LA during the pandemic. I went there to shoot some stuff. With a mask, of course. No. You got to put that disclaimer. People are like, yo, fuck this super spreader, man.
Vaccinated.
Yeah, vaccinated. Here's my card, laminated.
Laminated card.
No, I went to LA, and he was staying in the same place I was staying, and I hit him up, and we've done things in the past, so it wasn't like foreign. And he just said, as Alex does, it's just great. It's just, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
And then we met up that same day, and met up in the park, did some yoga. No, we didn't do yoga
together.
No.
I was gonna say,
Did you do the breathing exercises?
No. No yoga. But I do like yoga. But we didn't do any yoga. We did the interview, and That's it. Walked home.
Nice.
And it took a while to edit and like kind of get it right. In the past, I would probably have made that an editorial interview, but I'm trying to do a little more video just because it's more accessible and it reaches people quicker. I think they're like more engaged in it. So we did that, and I think it turned out well.
Yeah.
And I talked to
really
him
good.
after, and he seemed happy about it, and the feedback was good. So I'm much relieved.
Yeah.
Because I would hate for him to have said something that he would regret later. And so that I sent him a draft before, and I said, "Hey, you cool with all this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I said it." I was like, "Okay,
Cool.
Fuck
There you
yeah.
go. I like the Brandon Turner thing too. You guys, you were there when he switch hard flip the whole thing, right?
So I wasn't there, but a videographer was there, because it was that was filmed over. That wasn't a one-day shoot.
That was So I wanted to ask you about that. Were you guys already working on something with Brandon Turner, and then he's like, "Hey, I think I can switch hard flip Wallenberg."
So
You saw the switch hard flip, right?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, the
That's
dude's 40 years
crazy.
old or something,
Yeah.
and he
And
fucking
it-
switch hard flipped Wallenberg.
And he broke his legs, didn't he? And he got
Yeah,
them,
man, I mean, he
like,
broke his
not
legs.
in the
Oh, yeah,
situation,
he
but
broke
his
ahead
legs.
of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he jumped off
I mean,
the freeway.
whatever
I feel
DNA
like
that guy
that's
has,
like-
it's like
Yeah.
Wolverine. Like
Yeah.
they should just take
When
it,
he does
study
yoga
it.
too, maybe it's yoga.
Oh yeah. No, he does do that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
even
you heard him
before
wrong
that-
and he said yogurt.
No, he's a mutant for sure. No, I knew we wanted to film something with him because he's one of skateboarding's great stories. And I was in San Diego at that time. He said he was down. We kind of originally it was supposed to be just like a day in the life hanging out thing. We started doing the day in the life thing, and he's telling me, fell off this bridge, I did this, I did that. I go, whoa, we can't sell this short. Like we can't just do a day in the
Yeah,
life. This has
that
to be
shit-
a full-blown thing.
Yeah.
So we spent another 2 days filming with him. Then at the end of those days, he gets a call, and they're like, "Do you want to go skate Wallenberg?" And he's just, "I'm down." We're like, well, we don't know if
You're
this
like,
guy's
okay,
down.
what's he
Yeah.
gonna do?
So later on, we text him and ask him, "Are you actually down?" He says, "Yeah, I am." Get a filmer, we're gonna go up there Saturday. And so, I think it was Tanner who was filming it, and he went up with them and filmed it. And so we had this huge story arc. And it came out first in the Skate Mafia video, but no one really knew the story behind it. So then
Yeah.
when we dropped our thing pretty soon after, it was like it kind of made the arc complete.
Did he do that like in one? That was just one day. Like he went there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
filmed
He went
it
there
that day?
but he battled it for a long time.
Oh, he did?
Hours falling on that thing.
Really?
Yeah, like
I don't
if
know
I
how
had
you
to
can
calculate the trial,
fall
I
and
forget.
get
It was
up.
like I don't even also know if like he wants to know, but
Yeah.
it was a lot of tries. Yeah.
Damn. That was amazing though.
I mean, also at his age, I think he was 37 or 38.
Uh-huh.
Doing that at 17 is hard.
Yeah,
Hell
Then do it 20
yeah.
years later. Doing that at any age is hard.
yeah.
But it's
Kudos
not
to
even the
him.
landing. It's just falling down that over and over and over again.
I mean, shit, dude. Switch hard flip. Yeah, he's like a little younger than me, probably like 40, 38, 39.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
Now he's probably, maybe he's like 39 or 40. Yeah, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Big up to Brandon Turner.
Yeah, that was
Shout out
incredible.
Little B, yeah.
I was pretty happy with how that came how that turned out. That was like a good start to the year. And that's what I'm trying to do more of on Jenkum now. It's like longer form, dock style stuff that translates to skating, but it's a little bigger than that.
I wanted to ask you about some of the I picked a few pieces that you've done and
Sure,
just
sure.
get some
Uh-oh.
get some backstory on them.
Sure, yeah.
No, but like for like the Werner Herzog one, like what do you know who that? Did you see that one? He's like this.
He's a big skater. Skated for Menace.
He's a German movie director.
Okay.
And you interviewed him about skateboarding,
Yeah.
which is like super random. Like what? How did that come about? Like,
Just emailed him, man. Werner at Gmail. It's like, oh, Werner Herzog? Oh, yeah, I guess I'll just hit him up.
But
on my-
he has nothing to do with skateboarding at all.
No,
right?
not at all. I mean, that was the fun of it.
Oh man.
I just got sick of interviewing skaters. I'm like, oh, who we got? Steven Spielberg? Let's go. No, it came about because on the back
The
of his...
dude's like 70 years old or
Yeah,
80
yeah.
or something.
No, on the back of he has a book, and on the back of it,
Respect.
it says all this stuff like about filmmaking, but it could be read as a skateboarder. It's like get the shot by any means necessary, use bolt cutters if need be, jump the fence,
wow.
watch for the dogs, like everything is temporary, like basically go for it, like a skateboarder-ish manifesto. So I kept reading this and kind of like chuckling to myself that it felt like it was something you'd read in like maybe a militant Thrasher ad or something, you know, like fucking get it. And I saw that, and I just studied his movies after that and saw kind of like this commonality between the way he approaches film and the way skaters approach skateboarding, and that not to be too precious with your art. You don't have to overproduce. Like, he keeps everything very lean. Like, some of his movies is just him, you know, another camera guy, and like, you know, less than 5 people. And in skating, we're always like lo-fi, less is more, you know, intimate. And I kept seeing these things happen over and over. And this was over years. This was maybe started 5 years ago. And then I studied many of his films. He's got too many to kind of go through the whole thing. And I tried to get in touch with him for a couple years. And, you know, talking about when you asked me before, how was the pandemic? It sucked, but something like that would have probably not come out of it if it didn't happen. Because people like Werner don't sit still.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
They're moving constantly.
Yeah.
And so when everything started getting quiet, then I kind of got this like itch, like, oh, if there's one chance where I'm ever going to be able to actually connect with this person, it's right now. And so I found some people who knew some other people, how skating works. And eventually I pitched him, hey, would you want to have a discussion on skateboarding?
Yeah.
And the thing with Werner is he's done so many interviews, and he's an older dude, so he's done a lot of interviews. He doesn't like interviews anymore. It's the same 10 questions. Yeah. So he said, yes, I would be willing to have a conversation with you about skateboarding.
So he's
in
like,
those words.
This is different.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why it worked, you know? And he was gracious, and it was just through Zoom. I wanted to meet in person, of course.
Does he live in New York, or he lives in...
No, he was in LA at that time.
Okay.
So I was like checking off the LA list of people that I could hit. My real goal was I wanted someone to go to the car wash and do a trick off the car wash and bring Werner to see what it would look like, and kind of like expose him to skateboarding on a very visceral, real life level.
Imagine getting his reaction of seeing somebody like ollie into the car wash.
It would have been incredible.
That was my question. It was like, does this guy kick it with skaters?
No, so he doesn't. He doesn't. That's the point, though. It's like introducing your fucking cool ass grandfather to skating. You know,
that's dope.
So I wanted to bring him to the car wash, mic him up, and we go like watch something crazy happen. Because I thought he'd be amused by that and probably befuddled and everything in between. But of course, Corona, So I just had a Zoom call.
That's actually a great idea.
And now it's out there, so don't steal it, because you'll know you took it from me.
Get that.
Yeah.
That's dope. What about Mike Carroll, the future of Krail Tap? That was a very controversial.
Oh yeah.
That was a contrential interview.
Yeah. Damn, we're going in. Yeah, those ones were game changers.
That was the one he went off on MJ, right?
Yeah.
Talking about that whole situation.
That was a crazy time.
I was just with Mike 2 days ago.
Yeah, I saw. You jet lagged?
Yeah, I'm a little tired, but
yeah, it's okay. Cocaine's in the back, you know. That's what these Hollywood types do, right?
Jet setting. But that interview was it was like the first one where he kind of like let loose and spoke his mind on things.
I think there was a lot of forces at play at that time. I mean, Krail Tap was obviously going through a lot. A lot of the guard was changing. I think he probably felt pretty maybe underappreciated or something, or not heard, because a lot of people were just saying like, "Oh, Krail's done," you know, Skrull's dead, and something you work on for 20 years. You're like, "Fuck this! This shit's not dead. Like, I'm here. You know, I started it. You know," and he was going through definitely something, and he was seeing his riders get poached by different brands, whether it's shoe brands or girl or chocolate or whoever. I mean, not girl or chocolate, but leaving girl and chocolate. Yeah. And he gave me a text. He said, "Call me." And the first thing he said was, "Have you ever seen anyone get kicked off a team in an interview before?" Those were his words. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Like, I don't understand it. He just came out swinging with that statement. And I said, "No, I don't think so. Maybe like before my time. I'm not sure." And he goes, "Well, I don't know exactly like the exact words now, but he was like, yeah, I could be into that, or I could do that, or I might do that or something." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And he told me a little bit of the premise that he was pissed about. He finds out about Mark Johnson riding for Adidas through the Premiere, right? And I was unsure because it's a lot of responsibility, and I said I'd call him back and I'd think on it. We talk later, and I wasn't really that sure on it. And he's like, "Dude, I thought you wanted to be Big Brother. Like, what the fuck?" And he
He kind of called you out. Huh?
Yeah. And as soon as he said that, I was like, "Oh boy." I was like, "All right, whatever you want to say, it's your fucking interview."
He wanted to say
as soon as he called me out, it got me revved. Like I got in competitive
so
mode.
it worked.
Yeah, it worked. And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." Started recording, did it. Showed my roommates at the time, which was Richard Quintero and John Bag of Donuts. And that's not his real last name. We call him that. Braganoff, or I can't even say it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So we show him, and they're just like, "Holy crap. This interview is like heavy, you know?" And I transcribe it, and I show it to Mike, expecting him. In the beginning, I kind of thought he was like drunk and just like.
And he might backtrack
said
a little
it,
bit.
and then I show him the editorial, and he goes like, "Oh, actually, don't publish it."
Yeah.
But instead, he went through and he's like, "Actually, you know, like add that, you know, change this, just like micro things." But he's like, "Yeah, publish it." And
he was going in.
I double checked with him, and he sent it to other people at Girl, you know, so the upstairs was happy or whatever, and that's what it was.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. I mean, it's cool that people know like this is a place where I can go to fucking get shit off my chest.
Yeah, for sure. But after that, I did feel like I didn't want to keep going down that territory because I felt I don't want to just be like some rag that just airs people's shit out.
Yeah, you don't want to be like a gossip column.
Yeah, and that was like especially
the Wendy Williams of it.
yeah. That was especially like important. But anything like since then, I've gotten 50 emails from lesser people saying like, "Hey, this guy kicked me off my team 20 years ago. Do you want to write about it?" It's like, no, not
like,
really.
No.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you're not Mike Carroll.
Yeah.
Or Mark Johnson.
Right.
So.
And there's two sides to every story. Like, neither of those guys, in my opinion, were in the right. They both kind of handled it kind of poorly. And I offered Mark, I was like, "Hey, if you want to have your side, like, we'll be open to publishing it. It could be like, have both sides out there. People make up their mind.
Yeah.
The truth is always somewhere in the gray zone, But he didn't, and I think he published some things elsewhere, but they weren't so widely circulated, and they didn't really hit in the same way. But yeah, we haven't done that much of that since. And
You are right though. It's good to do it, but tone it down and not take it too far with those types.
Yeah, I mean that was a very unique position, opportunity change of the guard, but I'm not looking to mess with anyone's livelihoods or like, not that I'm doing it, but I don't even want to give the platform to all that because it gets murky,
But on a different note, I really liked the Beatrice Domande where you guys like rode around in a helicopter.
Oh yeah, that was super fun.
Were you in the Did you see that one?
Dude, I'm gonna watch all these.
It's okay.
So they or you can tell the story. You guys.
I'm excited to watch these later, for real.
Cool. Yeah. So we do this little segment called Hanging Out With, which is just a raw run and gun kind of a updated day in the life. And it's pretty much unscripted. We genuinely just try to hang out, but we try to sometimes have a surprise or whatever. And it was me and Raspa, I think. Raspa I filmed with. And Raspa was like, "Yo, let's get a helicopter for her or something." I don't know. This is Raspa. This is the magic of Raspa.
Yeah.
He comes up with some left field thing, and you go, that may work. So the morning of, we're supposed to go shoot with Beatrice, and he's talking about getting a helicopter. I'm like, Jesus Christ. All right. So it's like 10 o'clock. We're meeting at 1. So we start calling helicopter companies in New York City.
Yeah.
And we go like, "Hey, do you have a helicopter free today?" And they say how much it is, which is obviously over a budget, a couple hundred, $800, $900,000. And then we said, "Hey, we're going to take up this girl. She has a following. We have a following. Check out these accounts. If you're into it, we'll plug you guys."
Yeah.
And we eventually found one company that was willing to do it for free, and we just had to plug them.
Oh.
And they were willing to do it at 4 p.m. that day. So we met up with her, we filmed the day, and then as soon as like 3:30 rolled around, me and Rasper are like eyeing each other like.
Because she didn't know about it.
She didn't know. Me and Rasper are like, "Get over here, we gotta." She's like, "Why are we going to the seaport?" "Don't worry about it. Best skate spots,
Damn.
And we get to the seaport, and there's a helicopter that went by, and it was perfect timing. And she goes, and it's like, and we all have to wait. And then Raspa's like, "Oh, you like helicopters?" She's like, "Yeah, let's run us a ride into one." He's like, "Well, why don't we take a ride?" And she's like, "Ha, funny, cool." We're like, "Yeah, let's just take one there." She's like, you guys are kidding me. And then we go up, and she says her name at the door, and they're like, Beatrice? Yep, check. And she's like, holy shit.
Wow.
And we get in the helicopter, and I was actually nervous. Everyone was nervous.
I would be nervous as hell.
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
We were all nervous, but
I heard that it's very, because a plane is obviously big and steady. I heard helicopters are like kind of the opposite. Like you feel very like it's very shaky. and
yeah,
bumpy,
yeah.
right?
On takeoff, I mean, that's
Yeah.
when you're freaking because it's
Uh-huh.
like a top, you know.
Yeah.
But once you're moving, it's fine. But yeah, the chopper, like the crazy turns, you
Yeah.
definitely feel it.
Oh man.
Where did you guys go?
They just give you like a 15-minute tour. It's very expensive, obviously.
Yeah.
So it was like about 10 minutes, way enough. And they just take you around Manhattan. You see Midtown, you see the high rises, you go by the Empire State. I mean, that's the best thing about the job, you know, is like planning that for the sake of work
yeah.
and not having to pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're paying for it through like the work
But
itself.
it's great content,
Yeah.
man.
But,
That's amazing.
That's kind of how, you know, Earl Parker, who was a writer for Big Brother, he said, if anything bad happens to me, I'll just write about it. And that's kind of how I feel about things like that. Like if I'm a little bit scared of something or I don't know if I want to do it, at least I'm empowered that it's a good fodder for down the line. Whether it's writing, video, telling someone at the bar, like it's an opportunity to do something that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. And what about Wrecking Ball? You guys kind of like introduced him to the world? Sort of.
I mean, he wouldn't probably say that, but knowing him. I mean, I would say we did the first piece of media on him that made him popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did a lot of his own work on his own volition, but
Yeah.
that's
He
clear.
already kind of had his like Instagram thing going. Or
Man, I don't even remember.
yeah.
He was it was still kind of fringe, honestly, at that point. I think some people knew of him, but it was mostly like New Jersey, New York, you know, East Coast guys.
Yeah.
And they knew him as Joel, who was
Yeah.
like a skater,
Muscle.
guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, he came to it. Like he came ready to put on that thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he was ready with the story. We were ready to cover it. And Wrecking Ball was great because it translates to a bigger audience. He's just like, who's this skater jock like
Yeah.
guy? You know, it's kind of like odd. He's like a riffraff.
He is like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
riffraff
yeah.
too. Yeah, it's true.
So I think he's actually a better comparison than Jeremy. He's more like a riffraff because he does a lot of his own stuff and he is pretty intelligent, you know. And he hit that chord and he was attacking people so hard in the beginning. But you saw what happened. Like as he got bigger, he started attacking people less because it gets harder too. And then now I think he's doing more like broader comedy stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd say that video did well. I think it has 1 million views ish now.
Okay.
And that was another like, you know, you filmed that in an afternoon. It was lucky.
Yeah.
Good to be in the best city in the world, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's here.
Yeah.
And what about hanging out with Keith Huffnagel? Rest in peace to the legend. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of times I've got to hang with Huff. I mean, we obviously filmed a piece with him. We went down to where he grew up, or not down to, like he grew up in
Stuytown.
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Yeah.
Stuytown. But we went to his like little complex and we saw where he first saw his first graffiti and you know the little things he used to skate there. Huff is, what can I say about Huff that maybe hasn't already been
Just
said?
like a solid dude, like
Yeah.
real stand-up guy.
The cool thing about Huff too was that he was humble and he listened, you know? Like when I'd see him at wherever, trade shows, here, there, everything, he would genuinely ask like, hey, what's up, Ian? Oh, how's Jenkum? Or just kind of let you riff.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't trying to take over the room. He wasn't trying to take over the conversation.
Yeah.
He'd kind of leave room and he would just have a good laugh and he'd kind of like chuckle behind his smile.
Yeah.
And that was refreshing in like a space where a lot of people are always trying to one up each other. He was like, hey, you know who I am. You know my part. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need to fight for you for attention.
Yeah.
And he was always down to give advice. And everything that you would explain to him, it didn't have that much like weight. Like he would laugh it off kind of. And that was really cool.
Super easygoing guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you'd make a mistake or you say something, he'd just laugh and then riff off that and do something really dry. And you have to be like, what? Like his comedy was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you felt that way too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How was it that you went to the water towers with Jeremy Ray?
Yeah.
Those things are crazy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How was that thing?
That was another LA mission. Those things are so fun, dude. Like just anything you get. The best thing is anything you see in a video, whatever, growing up, magazine, you get to go explore.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel so lucky because of that.
Did you get up on the water tower?
So it was very, very, very hard to get up.
Yeah.
You need a ladder. You'd have to put a ladder on top of something and still get like a ninja kick and like a hoist up to there. So I didn't go to the top.
Yeah.
We weren't equipped for it. Who was shooting at Darnold Harold Sturt the day of the water tower? He had a grappling hook, and that's how he got up to the top.
Where did he shoot it from though? Because he was like kind of above, right?
Yeah, so he poached from like the bottom.
Yeah, there's a bottom shot.
Yeah.
And then there's the video is like actually like kind of seems like it's filmed from like a little bit above the water tower.
Yeah, I don't know who shot the video.
Yeah.
Oh, Ty shot the video. No, it wasn't Ty. Who was it? I'll remember in a minute. But I forgot who shot it, but someone sent us the footage. We went and checked it out. We climbed over, and it's like there was someone there. I mean, it's in the video.
Yeah.
There's someone there. We had to sneak back later.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're massive water towers. Anytime anyone thinks they can do anything there, just go there and talk to me after.
Nobody's done anything since that.
There's a reason. There's a reason that's like the greatest trick. I think it's like a top 3 trick ever done.
For sure.
Because if no one's tried it since, then
exactly.
I mean, the proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah, that was amazing when he did it the first time.
Yeah. I mean,
crazy.
But the scary thing was, and we kind of talked about it in the video, the ollie is scary, but what's scarier is running back over to try it again. Because if you're running and trying to do a big jump, if your steps aren't calculated, you could be taking the wrong step at the wrong time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's fucking. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. So when you're running, you're always like, oh, I'll take off with my left leg or whatever your right leg is. But if it's mistimed and the space is too much and you misstep, you're done.
Yeah, you're done.
And the same thing with the skating. If you hit a pebble or your ollie's a little too late, you're gonna miss the leverage. Or if you're a little too early.
Totally.
The only thing that he said to me that made sense to me was that he knew he could do it because if he was a little short, he would have just hung up on his back truck and just the momentum would have pushed him forward.
Yeah.
So even if he was a short, like a quarter meter or something, his body would have ended up on
his body would have went forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's you got to think it through the whole thing of like all.
Yeah. But Jeremy thinks very oddly, very. He's obviously one of a kind, but the way he thinks, it's almost like Alex Honnold, the rock climbing guy. Is that his name?
I don't know.
So he's like a free climber, and he climbs without ropes.
Okay.
And
I know.
I think some of these people are able to, once they make a decision, they're able to like strip themselves of the fear response pretty well. And I feel like Jeremy is pretty much like that. He can think of something, put his mind to it, and then all the other thoughts that would be neuroses to someone like all of us, he can strip them down. And Alex Honnold is another guy where he does interviews, and they say, like, what was going through your mind when you're just climbing on top of that? And he goes, like, oh, I just had to keep climbing. Like, very super to the point.
Very, kind of just nothing's going through my mind. It's just doing this.
Yeah, just doing it almost like a meditation. They just focus on that, and everything else is noise, and they don't let these kind of like things creep up on them. Like, when you're skating and you see yourself bail before you do the trick, and like I don't think those happen in these people's heads, or they've gotten good at it.
Totally. On a very different level of article was Fred Gall's getting a new mattress.
Oh yeah.
You got Jeremy Ray's explaining the water towers, and then Fred Gall gets a new mattress.
Yeah, that was an idea. That was actually Alex Raspa's idea with Brian Anderson.
Okay.
So long story short, we all know that Fred has battled substances for a very long time, and he got sober maybe now 2 or 3 years ago, and he lives in Jersey, and Raspa was filming with him and said, dude, you got to see like what Fred's sleeping on. It's not that great. so him and BA started talking, and we thought, what better? What
was he sleeping on?
I don't know.
Like
just,
a futon?
Just those normal, just garbage, $196 mattress with the spring popping out in the middle, Yeah. So BA's like, I'm down, and we went to Jersey, got a mattress for him, delivered it as a congrats on being sober for as long as you have.
Was it Tempur-Pedic?
Yo, it was. Trust me,
Casper
I had a
mattress?
certain budget in mind.
Very good, very good.
And me and Brian
Respect.
split it, and it was Brian wanted to get something more extravagant, so he ended up splitting, a little more in his share. But yeah, it was top of the line, straight up.
That's awesome. That's
Straight
awesome.
up top of the line. Like Brian's like, we're not gonna get Freddie anything but the best. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, the best is pretty expensive there, And we find, the mattress was between 2,000 and 3,000, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For the mattress?
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the mattress.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but I
That's
mean,
crazy.
it was top of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard like rich people before say like the first thing you should buy when you get money is a great bed
Yeah,
because it's super important.
I believe that.
You're all day.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's like what you're resting on to get
Yeah.
up and live your life. Pretty
Yeah.
much,
Well, that's also the sales pitch that all the people say.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you spend 90 million years of your life
Yeah.
sleeping, so you better have a good mattress. I'm like, I get it. Yeah.
And dude, I was at the bar with Goal before he and I didn't even know him. He was with like my boy, but I
Yeah.
remember he did a little trick where he had like the what do you call it, the candle,
Mm-hmm.
and he just drank it
Oh, he drank the wax?
and spit out the wax.
Oh,
And we're
wow.
Like, yo.
What year was this? Recently?
This is like gotta be like 5 years ago maybe.
Damn.
Yeah, this is just random night. I don't even really go out like that anymore. But like,
Yeah.
this was like random night with a homie from Seattle, and he like hella knew him. So we were all just hanging, drinking, and kicking it, and he did that. I was like, "What the fuck?" I got a video of it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's sick. Yeah,
So
Fred
wild.
was. I
Fred
mean, that's
Dahl.
why.
He's the
That's
homie.
why Fred is like. He's a showman. He's
Yeah,
a
for
stuntman.
sure.
He's a modern medical marvel.
Yeah.
He's
He's
a
a
good
legend.
guy,
Yeah.
and he treats
100%.
everyone well, regardless if you know him for 5 minutes or 50 years.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's why it
Super
shines through.
authentic person.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
like he'll give you the shirt off his back and whatever, and he'll be battling heroin and still find a way to.
Yeah. I felt the same way. I was like, this guy's super legit. Like, he's
Yeah.
a cool ass dude. Even though we were drunk or whatever, but like, he's just like, yo, like this guy's pretty dope for being like fucking legend. He is.
Yeah.
Shout out to Fred Golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Fred.
Yeah,
Gold.
Fred's the best. I hope he's doing well.
Props on the sobriety.
Yeah.
On a less sober note, what about the Bam Margera's house party?
Oh God. How is?
Some good
I
questions.
hope people don't find these boring. 'Cause They don't. They
No,
might not have seen
no.
all the the stuff.
No.
The
I'm
Bam
co-host and
Margera.
I'm hyped.
Fuck, dude, how did that happen? It's crazy. Like, trying to think of detailings. Oh, okay, yeah, this is what happened. So Bam was going through something then. I mean, he's constantly going through something, it seems, now.
Yeah.
But he wanted to throw like Bam Fest at his house, basically. And he made it open invite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
anybody could come.
yeah. Anyone could come if you bought a ticket.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of like a Juggalo Fest meets local rock concert, I guess. And he made it open-ended if you bought a ticket, and I'd say probably 500 or 600 people showed up. And we got to stay in the house, which was really cool, and we filmed everything. And I mean, he knew like, hey, Jenkum's coming,
Yeah.
But it was pretty much open to the public.
That
And then
sounds
there was
nuts.
yeah, it was.
Were
I mean,
the tickets bread?
the tickets are maybe like $80.
Oh, that's chill.
And then the funny thing is, as soon as the day happened,
This is at his house.
at
right?
his house,
Imagine you're selling tickets to a party at your house. That
I mean, and
anybody could come.
and there's
Yeah,
no
this
like,
is-
there's no company behind this. It's the guy goes on Instagram and says, "I'm throwing a party at my house, 12 to 10 tomorrow. These bands are playing. This is my code to the gate, and when you come, you have to give money, and you can park on my driveway."
I wonder how many people showed up. There must have been hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds. Yeah, like 400 or 500 people. And he's just like, be respectful and don't make it muddy or something. And then Slap goes off on this mud joke, which goes forever. But he's just like very anti-mud. Okay, like so random.
What was that?
He just he doesn't like mud,
I
man.
guess.
You know.
But the place probably got muddy as fuck because it's all like
Oh,
outside.
some of these cars couldn't even because it rained too. So some of the cars were stuck.
I think I might have saw something. Was there like a snake run thing? Like a beat up snake run that everybody was like tagging on?
Yeah. That's it. That was
You
it.
know, like,
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing video.
Yeah,
of it.
that was definitely it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
dude.
We show up early. I mean, we showed up the night before, sorry. And we got Wawa. We stayed at his house. There was a bunch of other people there. Danny Way was there. Tim O'Connor. Fred was
Danny Way.
maybe there. I don't remember. No, Fred came later. Yeah. I mean, it was wild being in the place where Viva La Bam was filmed, and you're just there, you know? And you're like playing the piano, getting drunk, like just looking at all artifacts that were on a movie set, you know? But Bam was pretty reserved. I mean, when there's the irony of it, he invites 500 people over for himself, but then you're trapped. Because if you go outside with 500 people, you're stuck. There's 500 people around you going like, Bam! And Bam's just like, oh, I need a drink.
Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to my
That's the funny thing about fame. Like, you want to feel loved, and then you get that love, but you can't enjoy it because you're stuck in your house looking at it from far distance. And that was really eye-opening to me because he was literally looking out the window at hundreds of people in his front lawn. And it was kind of felt like vacant and empty and eerie, you know?
Yeah.
And we're just like in this ivory tower drinking with a couple beers with his mates, you know?
It's like
Alex Mole was there too.
The king's looking over like at
it was,
all the little,
but it wasn't like the
at
cool
all
like
the peasants down there.
No,
like kingdom he just created like a crazy.
And then at some point of the day, he came down with Danny Way and Gall, and like just
they probably got mobbed.
Just the ties of people just move in, and but he can't do that for too long. You know, like you kind of need your homies around you.
Of course.
And he had security there, but the security was, you know, up and down.
I want to see the documentation of the cleanup.
Oh god.
Oh,
Of like, all right, everybody.
I mean, I'm sure he also probably hired like
he probably hired some crew, but
and April and Phil came, and you know, you just kind of wanted to help out at that point because you don't want it to be about you because there's this huge thing that was completely out of control. The last thing you want to be is like, hey, let's take a picture. You know, like the barbarians at the gate just like trying to get in and meet Bam.
No, that's true.
That's incredible.
It was, fuck, man, it was eye-opening. And it was sick, and it was a bucket list item, and we got to sleep there and film there and do something. And
sounds great.
Everyone was fucked up, and it was fun.
Yeah. Now that the world everybody's so woke, do you feel pressure to make articles that are have a political like tone to them, or kind of address certain kind of issues, even though it's not really Jenkum's lane, but like, people still feel pressure to kind of be involved in that?
For sure. I mean, you don't want to be just deaf to the dialogue that's happening around you. That's more important than skateboarding.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, oh, this person passed away and unjustly, and I'm just going to sit here and talk about the highest ollie contest. You know, it sounds like a little vacant, but it's tricky, you know, because again, especially these days, like both sides are so ferocious and they're so steadfast on what they believe in, and I think nuance of being open to two sides is kind of dying. You know, you're with us, you're against us.
Yeah, that's totally like that's the way the world is nowadays. It's like black or white. There's no gray.
Yeah, and if you're gray, then you get put in a box by someone else. So I want to be helpful on that dialogue and listen and help where it makes sense. You know, like posting a black square, I don't want to just be the 100th person doing that. You know, just to cover my ass up. Like, what can we do that creates meaningful change? And that also stays true to Jenkum. And there's going to be things moving forward that are going to be louder than what we've even experienced over and over and over again, whether that's like Stop Asian Hate, Black Lives Matter, or, you know, the environmental stuff is going to come, you know, all that stuff is going to be big. And I'm still, you know, we're still navigating through it. We have to be helpful when it makes sense for the causes that we feel that we can contribute to. Otherwise, we should sit back and listen, in my perspective. But do I feel like we need to sneak that into Jenkum? No, I think we should be very overt about it. It shouldn't be like, as soon as people go to Jenkum and they think we're trying to pull something on them, an agenda, then you've lost their attention. Yeah. And you know, you've lost my attention too, because I don't want to be, I don't want it to be anything but like pure in that way. So, if we're going to do anything, it's going to be try to be helpful and obvious. Yeah. It's not trying to sneak something in somewhere. Of course. Because I see a lot of that, and I see a lot of that in media and people just trying to cover their asses. And it's so transparent, and it's, though. At some point, you start to just, it's just, I don't know, doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, exactly. You know? So, as always, it's that fine line between trying to be helpful and listen and not beating people over the heads with it. And, you know, at the same time, I think during some of the last months we went a little too far left or we went a little too far right, but you don't know till you hit the wall either side. I had people coming up being like, oh, some of this stuff is like too much about world, like what's going on in the world. Like we come to Jenkum because we want to get away and distracted by skateboarding. And then some people say, hey, why are you talking about skating? There's all this stuff happening in the world. You're being, you're like bad people.
How can you talk about this when this is happening?
When this is happening.
Yeah. So it's totally two different perspectives.
Yeah.
I mean, both make sense. Both make total sense.
Right, but
people need an escape from everything that is going on. But yeah, at the same time, it's like what you said is totally correct. Like with everything happening in the world, it's like, is the high ollie contest like important?
Valid or important? Yeah.
Like, you know.
And I like everyone, we're all figuring it out. And I think the whole world went so far leading into the world stuff at once. Then people started tuning it out, and it's a constant moving dialogue. And I thankfully have a lot of people that help me with that too, because like Alexis and Larry and Christian used to help a great deal with that. Raspa, because that's not my strength.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not interested in it, but it's just not what I'm like built for.
Yeah.
And so I have to learn from them.
It's good to know that though.
Yeah. Like I have to learn from them to then try to figure out the best thing for me to do, and then the best thing for Jenkum to do. And yeah, it's tricky. Everything's in real time. Like, it's not like you have, let me go study for the test and I'll be back and like I know where I'm at and what's right and wrong. It's you're just trying to do your best at the moment.
How do you feel about like cancel culture and all that shit?
I mean, I'm bummed on it. I mean, like just
they try to cancel you or something?
No. Like,
I mean, a lot of skaters are getting, it's getting canceled.
Yeah, like dude,
people in the world
people should
canceled.
pay for things they've done, but do I think that they should be written off and basically like destroyed completely where they can't come back from it? Of course, there's certain instances, but for the most part, no. I think that they should have an opportunity to better themselves or figure it out or do, make their wrongdoings right.
Yeah.
And cancel culture is just so gnarly and it's usually just overblown. For the most part,
it's definitely it's going too far.
I'm just over it. Yeah. Like, and is it at the end of the day? And I don't have the answers to this, but at the end of the day, with this individual or a group of individuals being canceled, is it solving the bigger problem? And if not, at some point, then what are we doing to address the greater problem? Whether that's systemic or elsewise.
Yeah.
So a lot of those people that are toxic are symptoms of the greater problem. So let's figure that out, but let's go after the bigger fish here and like move forward in a better place together, not separated about should they be canceled or not.
Yeah.
Because one person is not necessarily going to change the tide.
Exactly.
In my perspective.
Exactly.
I remember there was a point of time where everything I was doing and everything I was drinking or whatever, like someone would call me out and be like, yo, dude, you don't know that?
Yeah.
Or do you know that this guy that owns that company? And then I'd just be like, what the? Dude, I have to take off my gear now? I can't drink my beer? Like, what happened? I don't feel like, I'm not disrespectful to nobody.
Yeah. No, it's exhausting. And you just have to like know everything about everything as well. Like, well, by the way, that company did this thing one time in '99, and Amazon,
Yeah.
And it's exhausting, and it's not a way for. I mean, let's do our best with what we know, but I can't be on all the time doing my research about everything I touch in this world.
Yeah.
Totally.
So forgive me.
But I think you
got to take that shirt off, dude.
Should I?
Yeah, it's bad. Canceled for sure.
People are gonna want to start throwing Molotov cocktails through windows
for sure
because they saw me.
But what are you guys' feeling on it generally?
No, I just think I just think human beings have a tendency to take things too far. I think it's valid in a lot of instances. It's a case by case basis, but like it gets to a point where people are just looking for things to cancel because it's just the thing to do.
Yeah.
So when you're kind of looking for things, you start creating situations that might not be, legitimate, valid situations for canceling,
Yeah.
And so, I think that's human nature, though. So,
or what about like the evil folks that use that as ammunition because they're seeing that this is like something that they can go with to like point at somebody, but they're evil themselves, and they're trying to like hide that. So they're like, no, but what about blah, 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 and like calling everybody out, you know. I don't know. It just gets crazy. We don't need to go on forever about it.
A couple of years ago, I went to that pushing borders thing. You were invited, but you didn't go.
It was, again, like talking about, I just felt like I need to learn. I get caught up and learn about that stuff. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, it's funny that happened because it was like a precursor for more where the world went too. You know, but yeah, it's just not my cup of tea. I'm not super. I didn't want to like speak at something like that without feeling like I had a good grasp of everything going on.
I wasn't even prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for. I went to this. They had a panel discussion in Sweden, pushing borders.
Oh snap!
So they had a lot of different panels, and I was on the journalism panel. But
oh wow!
I didn't. Like you said, I wasn't prepared for it to be like a political type discussion, which it very much was.
Yeah. No, it's
I'm
political.
Gonna pick your brain.
It was challenging, and it's also like there's. I mean, this sounds crazy, but there is a lot of academics that were in the audience that are like looking to find holes in whatever you said.
Exactly.
You know, like literal PhDs. And I'm like, hey, A, you know, do you guys even skate? And B, like, why do you want to be here, really?
Yeah.
You know? And it was just something that I think it did a lot of good for skating, but as things go, it also can get a little heavy-handed too, where I know people are getting attacked for like things that you just know they weren't meaning in a mean way or a bad way. They're just not that tactful. Like most skateboarders haven't gone to college. Most haven't even finished high school. Does that mean that you're a PhD? You're gonna pick on what this dude said because he misspoke? You know, like let's have a little bit of just common sense here. You know, and I feel like common sense kind of gets sucked out of the room sometimes like that.
Totally. And you're on the board of what is it?
I ask. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What is that? What does that stand for?
So that was International Association of Skateboard Companies.
Okay.
Clearly, I'm not the speaker for this one.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it sounds really big and important, and that's why I'm doing it, bro. No, it is.
I'm on the board.
It's something I joined recently. Someone asked me to do it. I believe it was started kind of originally because when blank decks came around. Were you in that conversation kind of when blank decks started taking off? Shop decks started selling blanks?
It was a thing. It was like shop decks were selling more than like the company.
And so IS like banded together and they're like, hey, this is going to be skateboard companies from all different sectors, hard goods, you know, whatever, to kind of look after the best case for skating to make sure that skating continues to survive, thrive, and grow the population of skateboarders. It's not really around anymore. I did it kind of on the tail end of the last 2 years, but they're in the process of rebranding, and they put on something called the Skateboard Hall of Fame. Okay. So that's happening this year, which just honors, obviously, people that are noteworthy in skating.
Okay. Oh, cool. Who else is on the board? There's a lot of people on
there. Huff was on it.
Oh, really?
Don Brown. Kelly Bird was on it.
Do they pay you? Hey, put me on there.
Well, it's out of business, so you might get negative dollars. You might owe money to join it.
You're like helping them.
They add, hey Lee, okay, your first dues, $1,000. No, you have to pay. If you're a member of the thing, you have to pay dues as well. So those dues go towards paying someone to help run it.
Okay.
So they go. So when we have these meetings, we say like, hey, we should try to put on Hall of Fame, and then someone actually has to go try to do it, and the dues go towards that. But generally speaking, it's an association of people within skating to try to grow participation of skating.
Interesting.
And the blank deck thing, man. I grew up on blank decks.
Yeah, of course.
Survived.
Fucking $30, $25.
The 25, 30.
I was definitely doing some blank decks in Europe when I was there because it was cheaper. I mean, the wood was kind of garbage.
Probably like 35 euros compared to like a girl board or an alien board was like 80 euros.
For sure, or 40. Sometimes also the shops would sell just like lightly used boards, and they'd sell them for $40. And if you're learning to kickflip, you don't need a pristine board.
I find your story super interesting because you came into this game like you weren't a pro skater, you didn't have big name industry friends. You just were like, I love skateboarding and I want to be involved in skateboarding, and you like created your own lane, and now you're like involved in skateboarding.
Respect.
Which is fascinating, which is like very unique, and I think there's not too many people out there that have done something like that. I mean, most people that do a lot in skateboarding, they were pro at some point in time, or they were a photographer, or been in the game for quite a while. But it's rare that somebody's just like, I love skateboarding, and I want to build my life around this, and then they create something from the
I
ground
think
up.
that was the scariest part because there wasn't, there were no examples of it. That's why it was frightening and weird and wasn't obvious. I mean, and then like, you know, I would just be bombarding stuff like trade shows, and there was not really many people like me. And like you said, I wasn't a former pro. I didn't grow up in California. I didn't have like some dad who was a skate shaper. You know, I was just a fan. And so ultimately, Jenkum is kind of on its DNA. It's a fanzine. You know, a fanzine that ended up becoming a part of like skateboarding. But that's why it worked, because the way we were looking at skating was how everyone else in the world was looking at skating. And the way that the bigger publications and people within skating, they just see what's in front of them. They talk about, like, for instance, we just dropped, we talked about Kelly Bird. We talked about a bunch of people that, for the most part, only people that work in skating will recognize their names. And I thought all of skating, and it's still a lot of skating, is too myopic. It's like this, everyone's talking like everyone knows all these people and they're a little high school. But most of the world sees skating and they only kind of probably understand 50% of what we're talking about. So I just tried to represent and explore skating as the clueless person I was. And that's why it worked.
Nice.
Amazing. But did you have a little bit of imposter syndrome?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure everyone has imposter syndrome, even people that come from that. Anyone that does anything that gets picked up, you don't feel worthy. Or at least I hope you don't, because that means maybe your like psyche is kind of healthy, you know? Anyone that's like, I deserve to be here is probably maybe a little more bravado.
Stable, I remember you did the 9 Club Live thing, right? I was there, and I wasn't like too familiar with you, and I remember thinking like, who the fuck is this?
Of
dude?
course.
no
but
offense.
you don't. No, but you know what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was like, who's this guy? What's he doing up here? I've never heard of this dude.
But you know what I'm thinking? I'm up there going, all these people are going to think, who the fuck is this guy? I'm thinking exactly that. I don't feel worthy. I was like, I never made a public-facing appearance until 7 years in Jenkum. Like, I was scared to be in the face of it for the first 7 years.
Really?
Because of that. Of people going, who the fuck is this guy? You know? And then only in the last 2 or 3, I felt like comfortable enough to be like, all right, I have a body of work behind me.
For sure.
I know most of you guys, and it's fine.
Yeah, you deserve to be here like all of us.
Thank you. But yeah, it took a while. Especially because like skaters, you know, we're all just fucking drama queen
Very
bitches, you know?
Of course.
We're all just going to talk. We all, that guy's cool. And then I go have a coffee like, Lee, I don't know about that guy, man.
It's kind of weird.
Just, I don't know why he asked me about that. Exactly. Everyone's sus, you know? It's like, I don't know. I heard this one thing from 12 years ago. He bought him a coffee instead of a fucking hot chocolate. And it's like, okay.
Like, he's super weird.
Or he drinks milk. Fuck this guy.
Doesn't he wear glasses?
Exactly.
Now that you're entrenched in the skate world, do you still love it?
It comes and goes. Recently, Corona made me like it more again. I'm having the best time doing Jenkum this year than I've had in many years. What I like about it more now is just like I know I need to find new things to keep me entertained, because if I'm not entertained, you know, other people are not going to be entertained. So I'm trying to I'm doing different things like the long form Brandon Turner doc, or even the Alex Olsen thing was slightly different in the way we filmed it and produced it. I do like it. I like it a lot. And I separate when I skate from my work. So like I purposefully try to skate on off hours so I don't end up talking about work with skaters at the skate spot, you know? Like it's better to just go there, skate for you, skate. It's like almost different. It's just this activity I do. And then I go into Jenkum stuff and I think about Jenkum stuff, like the industry, you know?
What skaters are you like psyched on these days? Like,
that's a never-ending question.
Do you pay attention to just everybody's so good that it's like, I don't know. It's like I watch a video part. I don't remember one trick because it's just too many.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't even remember what this guy.
Super bombarded.
Yeah, it's just like bombarded with like so much.
Yeah,
great skating, but it's just like sometimes I'll be like, whoa, that guy just did the gnarliest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I just watched it like it was nothing.
Do you remember the like Gino Annucci or Guy Mariano parts where they would do like 2 tricks? Or
Oh,
3
yeah,
tricks,
of course.
And you'd be like, oh my god.
You have 45 seconds of
And you
footage.
watch it over and over.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like haste makes waste.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But, you know, it's just harder. Like, now you have to put out top tier quality skating consistently and do it different. And, like, the level's just risen, you know, overall with everything.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I think Hightour is a cool skater. I like his style. It's kind of like Tom
He's
Penny-ish, but he's got, like, some flair.
Yeah.
Who else? Fuck, man. I mean, I like Brad Cromer a lot.
That guy's
It's
good, too.
you kind of end up, for me at least, now I like the guys that I like
in
as
real
humans
life.
too. More so like
I've always
yeah.
said that. My
Yeah.
favorite skaters are the people that I know.
Yeah.
Because there's more to it than just like skateboarding.
right, like, and that's the thing. A lot of people I don't know, of course, and I see them and it's cool and they're great pro skaters. But then I might see Aaron Harrington at a park and see him do some stuff and we shared a fucking Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
and he's my favorite skater
Yeah.
now. You know.
I love this guy.
Yeah, and so it's a combo of both of those things. But unfortunately, it's somewhat colored by your interaction.
Yeah.
And like most of the time, I would say most of the people I meet are pretty like you expect them to be cool, and then they're pretty cool. And then there's some very rare instances where they exceed that. Like Eric Ellington was one of my favorite skaters growing up. And then I met him in real life, and then we became friends, and and he's way cool. Like he's the best.
Cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like intelligent. He's funny. He's got this kind of entrepreneurship mind, and he's open. He's a curious guy. Like he'll listen and try to understand and figure it out with you.
Yeah.
And then some people are exactly as you think they would be, and you're so ecstatic about it. Like Jeremy Klein. Like he lives up to Jeremy Klein. He's like, all right, let's go get Korean barbecue. I'm gonna do a slappy and then light something on fire and then call it a day and play video games. And you want it to be exactly that. You want the McDonald's to taste like the McDonald's, you know?
Yeah,
Jeremy's like, he's a hero of mine too, and I'm so grateful to call him like a friend, associate, peer. You know, I can hit him up and let's go get Korean barbecue.
How did you
know?
guys become friends? Because he's old. He's kind of out of the game.
No,
right?
when they yeah.
What's he doing?
But I
these
mean,
days?
I grew up on my two favorite skaters were Heath and Jeremy. The
Okay.
duo. You have to have the duo.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the sweet and salty. Just them just mowing shit down. And I just became friends with him because how we do. You know, you meet him at a skate event, you share some stuff, you do an interview, you whatever, and then it's like
You guys clicked.
Yeah. We have similar. I think we can appreciate each other's like point of view on things, even if we don't always agree. Like we don't agree on everything, of course.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But we're like, okay, I get it. You know.
Now that the world's getting back to normal, are you guys gonna do any block parties soon or what?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, it's our 10-year, so I haven't figured out what that looks like yet, and I don't know if I want to like blow it out.
Yeah.
But maybe it's more like a couple more intimate things here and there. Maybe it's like 100-person parties in different places.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's also like.
Put me on the list.
Come on, get out of here. I don't even have to respond to that. You're definitely not on the list. No.
I'll put it this way: put me on the list. I'll definitely have to like. I know him.
No, dude, come on. I also think remember when we used to go to so many events back to back mindlessly, and we wouldn't even be hyped on them? Like,
after a while, you're kind of like, oh, I gotta go to this thing.
Like, let's say 2 summers ago, 2019, right? Oh, I gotta go to Max Fish Tuesday night. Oh, Thursday. Oh, I gotta go to the Adidas thing, art show in Midtown. How long are you gonna be there? Well, I'm trying to go for an hour and then dip out. Friday, flower shop. Guess what? You know. And as much as I appreciate those, looking back, it's like I didn't appreciate them then.
Yeah.
And I took them for granted, and they were also exhausting, and they all bled together. Unless I took photos at the event and something noteworthy happened, I don't remember them.
No, that's true.
So I think about that, and it's like, what did I learn from that, and how can I do events moving forward that are meaningful and interesting and stand out? And that doesn't mean bringing a $100,000 budget and buying a boat and having a Nike shoe at the top. Like that doesn't necessarily mean that. I'm not sure yet. I have to rethink it, especially for something like 10-year.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there anything you're working on that you want to shout out? Anything you got coming up?
Oh man, this is always the worst. Because
I'm like the type coming up these days.
Well, no, it's the fact that like I don't know. Sometimes like I don't like to show my footage before it's out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to like.
Like I don't want to talk about it and be like, yeah, like what Ryan Scheckler did 20 years ago or whatever. Remember that one? He's like, I backside flipped El Toro.
Yeah, and then
so he goes on with Phelps, rest in peace. They're chatting. It's like on Thrasher. It's like probably 2009. He's like, so you did El Toro? You backside flipped.
And he's like, yeah.
And Scheckler's like, yes. And after that, he just got ripped on for 10 years. And everyone's like, yeah, nice backside flip. I saw that. And he didn't do it.
Well, he went and tried it.
He tried it.
He tried it, but he said yes before he did it.
But he spoke like, and he was, he's supposed to go back and, nothing against him, but it just bit him in the ass for 10 years. And
so you try to avoid that.
I try to avoid saying stuff before I do it. Like I'm working on another book. I'm working on a documentary. I'm working on a couple like broader stroke things, but do I want to say them? And maybe they change.
You're working on a full-on documentary.
Yeah. I'm working on something for Ian and then something for Jenkum too.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do like something under my name that maybe I'll go to like a streamer, like a Netflix or a Hulu or something.
Oh, nice.
That maybe is produced by Jenkum, but it's like.
You're taking it to another level.
A little more under me, and then something for Jenkum too. That's also a longer form project about a local business here in Brooklyn.
Oh, cool.
Both stories I think are untold, and I hope I get to them before someone else does. So that's also why.
Yeah.
And they take a while because I'm working on Jenkum all the time.
Yeah.
So then on weekends I get to chip away like Saturday morning. Every Saturday morning, a couple. You do that months on end. Hopefully you get there.
And working on a book. That takes a lot of time.
Oh, yeah. That one's the nightmare for sure.
For sure.
I think after this third book we do, I'm going to take a breather on the books for a little bit. But I have Anthony Papalardo is helping me on that, and Jonathan Smith, two dudes that are really top of the game. But just gathering the assets takes a while.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
The one last thing before we head out, we got a few minutes left.
Oh, nice. Damn, that it went by fast. Jesus.
That means we were having fun.
I guess that's what it means. Yeah. No, I was. It was great.
One of the articles that you guys had, it was super simple, and I liked it a lot. It was I don't think you wrote it. I think somebody else wrote it, but it was like skate or don't.
Oh yeah. That was Zach. That was Zach. Oh, that was Andrew Merle. Shout out Andrew. He wrote Skate or Don't.
Yeah. And basically the premise of it is like we're shoved. All these companies are like skate every damn day, and you're like, no, I don't need to skate every damn day.
Yeah.
And it's funny with skaters too because it's like I've been skating for 30 years, but it's like never enough.
Yeah.
They're like, have you been skating? And I'm like, not so much.
And
they're like, well, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah. I'm glad you feel that way though, because sometimes when I run into people and they say the same question, that's kind of the barometer of like how I'm gonna treat you for some reason. Like, have you been skating? And if the answer is no, they're like, well, you better get on that. Like,
you better get
on
it's
there,
like
get your taxes done or something. Like, did I do this because I want to skate when I want to skate? But I get it because. First of all, you do lose the muscle memory quickly. Like if you don't skate, it'll show fast.
Totally.
But it is a funny kind of like a judgment call. It's a way to like gatekeep everyone from like, are you worth it? And I kind of like it on some ends, and then I kind of don't.
Yeah.
Because we also see skating becoming so vast and wide now, and there's so many people that are in positions of power that you really don't even know if they skate or not. And I don't need like you to be able to 360 flip a 10 stair, but I just want to see that you have a basic like feeling with it. Like show me a push. You know?
Yeah.
That's why people were dubious when with Jonah Hill. They were like, "Yo, let's just see you push."
Yeah.
Like we don't even have to see a kickflip. Let's just see you push down the sidewalk.
Can you ride down the street?
Yeah, because you can tell everything by that. You know?
Exactly.
But it is funny that you get that after 30 years. Like, bro, what the fuck's up?
Dude, how much more do I have to skate?
Yeah.
What else is there to prove?
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
You know?
It's funny.
Skating my whole life. Like, how much? Yeah.
In some ways, that's just good marketing, though.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't know if, Skate or Die. Yeah, that's Thrasher, right?
That's Thrasher.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have to skate all the time or you die, then right,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to sell a lot of product to skate all the time. You know, it's just like skate or we're gonna beat you up. It's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna skate and go through 4 boards a week. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, fuck. I think we got 1 minute
Yeah,
left.
thank you for listening this whole
Yeah,
time.
of course, man.
Oh,
Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, having me
Respect.
Love
talk
what you
about
do.
nonsense.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Likewise.
Just appreciate.
We're in the same position.
Thanks, brother.
I'm very curious to watch a lot of the videos that
Cool.
we talked about, and I'm gonna go back and check a lot of them out. I've checked a bunch of them, but I want to see some of the ones you talked about.
Cool. Thanks.
Kudos,
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I'm hyped.
Fucking
if anyone out there that hasn't seen it, they gotta check it out too. You know,
I'll force them to for
Yeah,
sure.
Check it out. Check it out.
Jenkum.
Are we off?
I don't know.
I gotta
still
pee.
rolling?
Oh, amazing.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Peace,
hey,
guys.
if you were watching this, am I still live or no? I'm off. If you're watching this, please DM me, and I want to send you stickers or something. I'm doing a test to see how many people are watching this, and this is my way.
Hey.
So if you're watching this, DM ian.michna on Instagram or at Jenkum Mag, and I don't know, it'll be funny. I'll send you something. Thanks.
Hit his DM.